Chapter 485. The blind sword master was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He wasn't angry because of Ting Qingshan's words. Instead, he was angry because of the sudden appearance of the demonic beast, thousands of silver dragon soldiers were killed and injured. It caused the entire silver dragon army to collapse. This time, their plan to destroy the Gui Yuan sect had already failed 90% of the time. There was still a 10% chance that kill Jing Yi, kill that demonic beast. In this way, the morale of the Silver Dragon army would be boosted and they would worship the blind sword master excitedly. They would listen to his orders and destroy the Gui Yuan sect. Blind Tai, what are you waiting for? The black-haired hunter said telepathically. You and the shooting sun Heavenly Wolf, go and kill that demonic beast. Leave Jing Yi to me, the blind sword master said with the use of the sound transmission technique. Sure. The black-haired hunter was straightforward. A woo, the black-haired hunter howled at the shooting sun Heavenly Wolf. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Almost at the same time, 3 shadows dashed out. Jing Yi die. The blind sword master roared. Blade-like Qi with a glance, Ting Qingshan signaled for the 6-legged blade-like Qi to attack together. After spending so much time with Ting Qingshan, the 6-legged blade-like Qi could understand some simple meanings from Ting Qingshan. Boom, boom. Ting Qingshan exerted all the strength in his body, causing the veins on his body to bulge. His eyes were like lightning, and no one could look him in the eye. Ting Qingshan was like a peerless demonic god holding the splitting mountain axe in his hand. He dashed forward madly, and his footwork was ingenious. After 2 continuous changes, he had already dashed to the left of the blind sword master. Tai Wu, eat my axe! A thunderous roar sounded in the blind sword master's ears. The blade of the splitting mountain axe glowed with 3 colors. Wherever the splitting mountain axe passed, the space would distort. Emperor, you had created the supreme technique over 6,000 years ago, and it was displayed again after 6,000 years. The splitting mountain axe enveloped the blind sword master. For a moment, it was impossible for the blind sword master to dodge this attack. He could only face it head-on. Where did Jing Yi learn this axe technique? Who created this move? It's so powerful. Blind cursed in his heart. Humph! On the surface, the blind sword master sneered and pointed the thin iron rod in his hand casually. That was all. Clang! A crisp sound rang out. Ting Qingshan felt a powerful force pass through the splitting mountain axe. His hands became slightly numb. Ting Qingshan slid backwards like a fish. The blind sword master shot 2 beams of black light at him, but Ting Qingshan dodged both of them. Jing Yi's body art is different from the last time. The blind sword master was astonished. I'm afraid I'm not strong enough to kill the blind sword master alone. Ting Qingshan understood this point. As he retreated, blade-like Qi, Ting Qingshan shouted through the use of sound transmission. The shooting sun Heavenly Wolf and the emptiness realm culmination expert, Shengong Tu, surrounded the 6-legged blade-like Qi originally. The 6-legged blade-like Qi had fought with the shooting sun Heavenly Wolf, causing the shooting sun Heavenly Wolf to howl in pain. Shengong Tu had already pulled his wooden bow to its fullest. However, at this moment, Ting Qingshan shouted through the use of sound transmission. The 6-legged blade-like Qi immediately flapped its wings and dodged the blind sword master in an arc. It then pounced towards the blind sword master at an astonishing speed. Haha, Tai Wu, let's do it again. Ting Qingshan laughed loudly and pounced towards the blind sword master with the 6-legged blade-like Qi. Humph! The blind sword master was not afraid at all. That's fine. Let's get rid of this demonic beast first. Obviously, he thought that the 6-legged blade-like Qi would be easier to kill than Jing Yi. With this thought in mind, the blind sword master hastily executed his body art in an attempt to shake off Ting Qingshan. He wanted to fight the 6-legged blade-like Qi alone. Trying to dodge me? Ting Qingshan sneered. His body flashed twice and he arrived at the blind swordmaster's side. After combining the 36 splitting mountain forms with his own understanding, Ting Qingshan's movements became even smoother and smoother. Troublesome. The blind swordmaster grew anxious. However, it was too late. He was already surrounded by Ting Qingshan and the six-legged blade-like qi. Immediately, Ting Qingshan's splitting mountain axe glowed with a three-colored radiance as it slashed towards the blind swordmaster's head. As for the six-legged blade-like qi, it treacherously stuck close to the blind swordmaster and waved its four blade-like arms at the same time, attacking the blind swordmaster. Phew, the blind swordmaster could not see, but he could sense what was happening around him. He could sense that the space around him had been shattered by a huge axe and four huge blades. He, the blind swordmaster, only had a thin iron rod. How could he block these 5 attacks? Ha! The blind swordmaster roared and instantly spun like a spinning top. The instant the thin iron rod collided with the splitting mountain axe, the blind swordmaster spun even faster with the help of the terrifying rebounding force. He actually managed to block 3 of the 6-legged blade-like cheese blades. The blind swordmaster used his free left hand to slap the 4th blade. Die! The thin iron rod spun and pierced towards the 6-legged blade-like cheese chest like a streak of black light. Roar! A red glow flashed in the 6-legged blade-like cheese blood-red eyes. With a treacherously whistling sound, the 6-legged blade-like qi swung its 2 lower limbs upwards. Its blade-like lower limbs slashed towards the blind swordmaster's lower body. Not only that, the 6-legged blade-like qi's upper limbs suddenly shot out 2 sharp thorns. Whoosh! Whoosh! They shot out at close range. The blind swordmaster instinctively kicked the 6-legged blade-like qi's lower limbs. However, the 2 sharp thorns were too fast and pierced the blind swordmaster's chest. Clang! Clang! The sound of metal clashing rang out. The blind swordmaster's black clothes were pierced through, revealing the silver color underneath. Whoosh! The blind swordmaster retreated rapidly. Cold sweat seeped out of his forehead. What a terrifying demonic beast! It was born to kill. The blind swordmaster was shocked by the first exchange of blows. Its 4 upper limbs and 2 lower limbs are all extremely sharp. It is as if 6 blades attacked at the same time. Moreover, those sharp thorns. I didn't expect it to shoot out 2 thorns. Moreover, my attack didn't even injure it. Although the attack was affected by its sneak attack and only had 60% of its power, its scales are too. The blind swordmaster could sense every grain of sand within a radius of several zhang. However, he didn't notice any damage on the 6-legged blade-like cheese scales. Its defense was terrifying. 6 sabers attacked. And concealed weapons. Such a demonic beast was indeed born to kill. I actually let him escape. When Ting Qingshan saw this, he couldn't help but curse inwardly. Ting Qingshan had planned to kill the blind swordmaster long ago. He wanted the 6-legged blade-like qi to succeed in its surprise attack. Unfortunately, this fellow is wearing the inner armor of the godly armor. It was a full set of battle armor, which included battle boots, arm guards, helmet, and inner armor. The blind swordmaster didn't want to wear a full set of armor when he came to kill. However, he still wore the inner armor, arm guards, and battle boot. It was because of the inner armor of the godly armor and the battle boots that he managed to escape. Shingong 2, kill this demonic beast with serious. The defense of this demonic beast's scales is very strong. Use the Yin force to injure its internal organs. Don't use force. The blind swordmaster said hastily with the use of the sound transmission technique. Indeed, this was the 6-legged blade-like qi's weakness. In the past, Ting Qingshan had used the technique Splitting Mountain to defeat the 6-legged blade-like qi, who had yet to attain the emptiness realm. Jing Yi! The blind swordmaster shouted sternly. He transformed into a streak of black light and darted toward Ting Qingshan. Tai Wu, watch me kill Jing Yi. A voice rang in the blind swordmaster's ears. The blind swordmaster was shocked, but he immediately became overjoyed. This Jing-yi is very difficult to deal with. Could it be that Shingong too is willing to use the void-piercing arrow? Otherwise, why would he be so confident? The most powerful technique of the shooting sun god mountain was the archery technique. It could be said that the power of the godly arrows of the shooting sun god mountain had reached an extreme level. Even an emptiness realm culmination expert would be afraid of Shingong Tu's most powerful arrow. Roar! The six-legged blade-like chi roared as if it was warning Ting Qingshan. Oh no! Ting Qingshan's facial expression changed. He couldn't care less about the blind swordmaster's attack because the black-haired hunter, Shingong Tu, was drawing his bow and shooting an arrow at lightning speed. For a moment, all kinds of colorful lights gathered on the ancient godly bow. Simultaneously, an arrow glowing with a faint golden light tore through the air, leaving a golden afterimage in the air. In the next moment, it had already arrived in front of Ting Qingshan. The speed of the arrow was frighteningly fast. Die. Shingong Tu sneered and said, I only have 10 void-piercing arrows. Let's see if you can survive. Bang! Ting Qingshan had already raised the splitting mountain axe. Facing such a swift and fierce arrow, he had no time to escape. The only thing he could do was block the arrow with the splitting mountain axe. Rumble! Ting Qingshan felt a terrifying penetrating force pass through him. So powerful! Ting Qingshan's entire body flew into the distance like a shooting star. Phew, phew! Ting Qingshan felt the air whistling as his entire body flew backward. Ting Qingshan didn't waste any energy to stop himself. He focused all his attention on the blind swordmaster, guarding against the blind swordmaster's attack. However, the blind swordmaster didn't launch a sneak attack. He just watched the scene in shock. What? His weapon didn't shatter? This axe. It must be a personal weapon of an insightful emptiness realm expert who refined it using the power of the world for hundreds of years. The blind swordmaster was completely stunned. The void-piercing arrow was extremely powerful. Once it was shot, the void-piercing arrow would be destroyed. However, it could still pierce through the enemy's weapon and kill them. However, Ting Qingshan blocked the arrow with his huge axe. Ting Qingshan flew backward for 1 to 2 li and smashed into the city wall of Jiangning County City, causing the entire city wall to tremble slightly. The tens of thousands of soldiers on the city wall who were watching the battle trembled. They were all stunned. Everyone was speechless as they looked at the giant craters and the cracked ground below. Creak, creak, Ting Qingshan dashed out from the crater on the city wall. He laughed loudly and said, I have long heard that the shooting sun god mountain's godly arrow is very powerful. Now that I have seen it, it is indeed extraordinary. What? Shingong Tu's face turned ashen. Ting Qingshan laughed loudly. Although he sounded happy, he felt bitter in his heart. This was because his hands were bleeding from the impact. Fortunately, I have the splitting mountain axe, Ting Qingshan thought to himself. At the same time, he glanced at the six-legged blade-like chi in the distance. The man and the demonic beast were standing 1 to 2 li away from each other. With one glance, the six-legged blade-like chi understood Ting Qingshan's meaning. Chapter 486. Boom! Ting Qingshan stomped on the ground and leaped into the sky. With the strength of his body and his control of the power of the heavens and the earth, he leaped over 100 zhang high. At the same time, the six-legged blade-like chi understood Ting Qingshan's intention. With a whoosh sound, the six-legged blade-like chi flapped its wings and flew towards Ting Qingshan at an astonishing speed. Ting Qingshan landed on the back of the six-legged blade-like chi with ease. Jing-yi, don't run! The blind sword master shouted angrily. He transformed into a black beam of light and flew towards Jing-yi. A hint of disdain flashed across the six-legged blade-like chi's blood-red eyes. It flapped its wings and made a difficult flight curve in the sky. The blind sword master couldn't catch up to it at all. Then, the six-legged blade-like chi transformed into a black blur and dashed towards the black-haired hunter. Shengong Tuesday, haha, Tai Wu, take your time. Ting Qingshan's laughter echoed in the blind swordmaster's ears. This demonic beast's flying speed is too fast. The blind swordmaster's grayish-white eyes glinted. Standing on the back of the six-legged blade-like chi, Ting Qingshan's eyes flashed like lightning. Let's kill them one by one. It was impossible for him to kill this emptiness realm expert of the shooting sun god mountain in a one-on-one fight. However, it was 2 against 1, so he was confident. You still want to use bow and arrow? When Ting Qingshan saw Shengong Tu draw the bowstring, he sneered. A cold glint flashed across the six-legged blade-like chi's blood-red eyes. Its 2 pairs of wings began to vibrate at a high speed. For a moment, it seemed as though 2 six-legged blade-like chi appeared in midair. This scene stunned Shengong Tu, who was about to shoot an arrow. Oh no! The black-haired hunter, Shengong Tu's facial expression changed. With the six-legged blade-like chi's flying speed, Shengong Tu wasn't confident that he could hit the blade-like chi with 1 arrow. The blade-like chi's ability to fly in a curve at high speed is similar to Little Blue. I'm afraid they can't do what the blade-like chi has done. Ting Qingshan thought to himself, the blade-like chi has 2 pairs of wings. Moreover, the wings are very thin, which is why the blade-like chi can maintain such a high frequency of changes. He had sparred and cooperated with the six-legged blade-like chi many times. After all, there were many experts from various sects in the land of the 9 prefectures. Ting Qingshan naturally had to make sufficient preparations. Roar! Shengong Tu roared in a low voice. Whoosh! The giant silver wolf also scurried over and stayed by Shengong Tu's side. At this moment Ting Qingshan, who was riding on the six-legged blade-like chi, had already dived down. At this moment Ting Qingshan suddenly leaped and dashed over. Simultaneously, he raised the splitting mountain axe in his hands and performed the 18th move of the 36 splitting mountain forms. Shengong Tu unsheathed the short saber at his waist. Facing Ting Qingshan's axe, he had no choice but to face it head-on. He had a feeling that even if he retreated several zhang, the axe would still strike his head. Therefore, it was better to stand at his original position and prepare to face it head-on. Compared to his archery skills, his saber skills were much weaker. However, I have reached emptiness realm culmination. How can I lose to someone who hasn't reached emptiness realm culmination? Shengong Tu's eyes turned cold. He kept the short saber at his waist as he stared fixedly at Ting Qingshan's axe. Chi-Chi, before the axe arrived, the space had already trembled. Ting Qingshan's thick and strong arms carried the might of the power of the heavens and the earth as he swung the most powerful axe strike he could perform at this moment. Break! Ting Qingshan roared furiously. Now! Shengong Tu instantly swung his saber. Clang! A ray of flowing light appeared and clashed with the flowing light of the splitting mountain axe. Shengong Tu and Ting Qingshan were both sent flying. While Ting Qingshan and Shengong Tu were fighting, the six-legged blade-like chi, which wanted to attack Shengong Tu, was blocked by the huge silver wolf, the shooting sun heavenly wolf. Roar! The huge silver wolf howled. Roar! The six-legged blade-like chi's blood-red eyes stared at its opponent. With a deep roar, it dashed forward. When the six-legged blade-like chi approached the giant silver wolf, the body of the giant silver wolf suddenly leaped. Simultaneously, the sharp horn on its forehead suddenly shot out a ray of silver light. This ray of silver light was like a bolt of lightning, striking toward the six-legged blade-like chi at an astonishing speed. However, the six-legged blade-like chi merely swung one of its blade-like arms. With a clang, the silver light dispersed. The six-legged blade-like chi paused for a moment before continuing its pursuit. The huge silver wolf nimbly leaped 3 times on the spot, leaving behind a trail of afterimages. Then it pounced towards the 6-legged blade-like Chi, bringing with it a gust of wind. The huge silver wolf's 2 front claws flickered with a cold luster as they tore towards the 6-legged blade-like Chi. Perhaps the huge silver wolf's speed was too fast. Perhaps the 6-legged blade-like Chi was too confident. Unexpectedly, the 6-legged blade-like Chi did not dodge. Instead, it met the huge silver wolf with its 4 blade-like arms. Clang! Clang! Chi! When the blade-like arms and the huge silver wolf's claws collided, an ear-piercing sound could be heard. There were even sparks and electric arcs. However, the 6-legged blade-like Chi had the advantage of having many arms. Even though the huge silver wolf tried its best to dodge, one of the blade-like arms still managed to strike the fur of the huge silver wolf's front limbs. The huge silver wolf's fur was extremely tough, but the sharp blade-like arms still managed to leave a wound on it. A trace of red blood seeped out, but the huge silver wolf had already sealed the wound. Roar, roar! The huge silver wolf crazily fought with the 6-legged blade-like Chi at close range. Although the wolf's movements seemed crazy, every move was as fast as lightning. Moreover, every move was extremely ingenious. It contained the ability to borrow force to deflect force. It was hard to defend against all kinds of sneak attacks. Bang! The huge silver wolf's tail whipped the 6-legged blade-like Chi and sent it flying. Roar! The huge silver wolf, which already had 4 to 5 wounds on its body, leaped excitedly. However, the 6-legged blade-like Chi, which was in midair, flapped its 4 wings and quickly regained its balance. The 6-legged blade-like Chi's blood-red eyes were filled with anger. It was finally angry. It dived down, its 4 upper arms and a pair of lower limbs simultaneously brandishing the 6 blades, towards the huge silver wolf. Shio! Shio! As the two fought, 2 sharp spikes shot out. However, the huge silver wolf's fur was too tough. The sharp spikes only managed to pierce halfway through before the 6-legged blade-like Chi controlled them to fly back. However, the 6 blades of the 6-legged blade-like Chi were terrifying. The 6 blades that danced wildly contained the blade art that the 6-legged blade-like Chi had cultivated for thousands of years. Although the 6 blades seemed chaotic, even an emptiness realm culmination expert like the blind swordmaster, who could control the power of the heavens and the earth, was at a disadvantage. The blade-like Chi has gone crazy. Ting Qingshan glanced at the 6-legged blade-like Chi and couldn't help but feel shocked. Once the 6-legged blade-like Chi went crazy, it would use its 4 wings to maintain its balance and attack with its 6 blade. The 6-legged blade-like Chi was so terrifying that even Ting Qingshan had to admit defeat. As expected, Puchi. As the 2 emptiness realm demonic beasts fought head-on, more and more wounds appeared on the huge silver wolf's body. The 6-legged blade-like Chi's blade actually managed to cut a wound on the huge silver wolf's body. In an instant, a huge wound appeared on the huge silver wolf's body. Roar! The huge silver wolf, which had gone crazy just a moment ago, immediately howled and fled. It transformed into a streak of silver light and fled rapidly. The huge silver wolf wasn't afraid of small wounds. However, the 6-legged blade-like Chi actually slashed twice at the same spot. This made the huge silver wolf afraid. Actually, the fur and muscles on its entire body were constantly squirming and dodging. It was almost impossible to slash twice at the same spot on the huge silver wolf's body at the same time. Unfortunately, the 6-legged blade-like Chi had 6 blades. The huge silver wolf was careless and was hit. Roar! The 6-legged blade-like Chi soared into the sky excitedly. There were actually some scratches and cracks on the black scales on its body. It was obvious that the huge silver wolf's sharp claws were not to be trifled with. Whoosh! The 6-legged blade-like Chi flew through the sky. How could the huge silver wolf, which was running on the ground, be faster than the flying 6-legged blade-like Chi? Tai Wu, you stinking blind man! Hurry up and help the heavenly wolf. Shengong too, who was entangled by Ting Qingshan, said anxiously with the use of the sound transmission technique. Although it took a long time to describe, the huge silver wolf and the six-legged blade-like Qi had probably fought hundreds of times in the blink of an eye. Therefore, the huge silver wolf and the six-legged blade-like Qi had only fought for the time of one breath. Whoosh! Shengong too is really anxious. If this demonic wolf dies here, the shooting sun god mountain will have a huge grudge against them. The blind sword master didn't dare to hesitate. To the shooting sun god mountain, this demonic wolf was more important than an emptiness realm expert. The blind sword master was about to rush over, but Roar, the huge silver wolf, who couldn't run away from the ground, drilled into the ground and performed the drilling technique that it was proficient in. In the past, before it had broken through to the emptiness realm, the huge silver wolf had relied on drilling to escape from the pursuit of many flying demonic beasts. This time, it performed the same technique. Drilling. Roar, the six-legged blade-like Qi roared excitedly and drilled into the ground. The moment it drilled into the ground, the two forearms of the six-legged blade-like Qi gathered at the front. The middle arms and lower limbs were all bent and pulled closer to its body. The sharp spikes on the six-legged blade-like Qi's blade-like arms began to move crazily. In an instant, the six-legged blade-like Qi looked like a centipede with over 600 legs. The 600 sharp spikes actually formed a spiral shape like an electric drill. Whoosh! If the human emptiness realm experts relied on brute force and the walking beasts relied on their foreclaws to dash inwards, then the six-legged blade-like Qi was like an electric drill. It controlled the direction of the sharp spikes to form a terrifying rotating force. In addition, it was accelerated by the power of the heavens and earth. It was extremely fast. In just an instant, the six-legged blade-like Qi caught up with the escaping huge silver wolf. Roar, roar! The huge silver wolf was terrified. It could clearly see that the six-legged blade-like Qi was rushing over. The huge silver wolf didn't expect that a flying demonic beast could drill so well. It was definitely the most terrifying drilling demonic beast it had ever seen. Miscalculation. Whoosh! The huge silver wolf was about to dash to the surface. Roar! Unfortunately, the six-legged blade-like Qi had already caught up. At this moment, Shengong too, who was being held back by Ting Qingshan, couldn't help the huge silver wolf at all. He was so anxious that his face turned red. He shouted with the use of the sound transmission technique, "Tai Wu, go underground. Hurry! Hurry!" It was too late. If the huge silver wolf died, Shengong too would definitely hate the blind sword master. Should I drill underground and fight? The blind sword master, who had been waiting for the huge silver wolf to come out, could only grit his teeth and drill underground. Roar! A pained and terrified cry came from underground. The 5th chapter has arrived. Since I am going to fight, I must fight to my heart's content. Tomato, continue writing the 6th chapter. Damn it. I don't believe that I can't get first place with the monthly vote. Tomato, continue writing the 6th chapter. Brothers, you guys need to use your monthly votes as well. There is a big gap between us now. We need the monthly votes urgently. Chapter 487. The guards on the northern city wall of Jiangning County City widened their eyes as they stared at the battle between the Emptiness Realm experts below the city wall. Although the speed of the battle between the Emptiness Realm experts was so fast that it made their eyes blur, the guards could still see who had the upper hand and who was weaker. Senior Jing Yi's helper, the humanoid demonic beast, is 2 zhang tall. With one move, he defeated several thousand silver dragon soldiers. Senior Jing Yi and the other hunter, who knows how to shoot arrows, fought to a draw. Senior Jing Yi was at a disadvantage when he fought against the black-clothed blind man. A guard standing on the city wall kept repeating in his heart to prevent himself from forgetting. His name was Hu Chuan. He was a member of the city guard of Jiangning County City. As a member of the city guard, his salary was not high. If he wanted to live a comfortable life in Jiangning County City, marry a beautiful wife, and raise his parents well, it was not enough. Therefore, he would also take on some private jobs. This time, he took on a private job. According to the other party's instructions, if a battle between experts of the level of Senior Jing Yi occurred outside Jiangning County City, he must watch carefully. He must remember the main process. After the battle, he would report the process to the employer and receive 500 taels of silver. 500 taels of silver was a huge sum for an ordinary soldier at the bottom of the hierarchy. Therefore, of course, he would do it. In his opinion, there would be a lot of discussion after the battle. Therefore, he would not harm the interests of the Gui Yuan sect if he told others. Of course, he would earn the money with a clear conscience. People like Hu Chuan could be considered as hired personnel of the intelligence organizations of the great powers. After all, some places were not suitable for the people of the intelligence organizations to enter. The battle between Emptiness Realm experts would usually reveal the secrets of the Emptiness Realm expert. Therefore, the 8 supreme sects attached great importance to it. The price for this kind of information was very high. Most soldiers would not take note of it when they saw it and would not pay attention to many parts. However, the hired personnel would pay attention to the details. The arrow shot by the hunter sent Senior Jing Yi flying 2 li away, crashing into the city wall. Senior Jing Yi is fine. Senior Jing Yi's helper, the humanoid demonic beast, flew very fast. It split into 2. The giant silver wolf that the humanoid demonic beast chased went underground. This young man, Hu Chuan, memorized everything he saw. Although he couldn't see the details of the fight between the Emptiness Realm experts, this information was the most detailed information he could observe without being distracted. That black-clothed blind man has also gone underground. The blind man in black and the giant silver wolf have both come out. Hu Chuan's eyes widened. Pung! The ground split open. The blind sword master and the blood-stained giant silver wolf leaped out of the ground almost at the same time. The giant silver wolf was no longer as majestic as it used to be. Putting aside the fact that its fur was stained with blood, its powerful weapon was its tail. That beautiful tail was now only left with a small section near its butt. The tail was broken. This shooting sun heavenly wolf had become a demon wolf without a tail. Furthermore, there was a hideous wound on its thigh. One could vaguely see the white bone. Boom! On the other side of the earth, the 6-legged blade-like chi emerged from the ground. At this moment, one of the blade-like legs of the 6-legged blade-like chi was clamping the tail of a demonic wolf, which was over a zhang long. With a flap of its wings, it flew towards Ting Qingshan. At this moment, Shengong Tu and Ting Qingshan simultaneously retreated. Whoosh! Ting Qingshan leaped onto the 6-legged blade-like chi's back, while Shengong Tu scuttled to the side of the shooting sun heavenly wolf. Roar, roar! The giant silver wolf leaned on Shengong Tu and howled in pain. Roar, roar! As an Emptiness Realm culmination expert, Shengong Tu was famous throughout the land of the 9 prefectures. He stroked the giant silver wolf's feathers. When he saw that the giant silver wolf only had a small section of its tail near its butt and the large wound on its thigh, Shengong Tu was so angry that his face turned purple. Tears welled up in his eyes. Shengong Tu understood the language of beasts. He had been with the giant silver wolf for over 300 years. They were like brothers. It was easy to recuperate from the wound on its thigh. However, without its tail, the giant silver wolf would lose a weapon. Without its tail, it wouldn't be able to maneuver around in a small area as nimbly as before. Thirdly, losing its tail was a humiliation to the giant silver wolf. It was just like how a person would be looked down upon if he became a cripple. In a pack of wolves, a wolf without a tail would be looked down upon. Although the giant silver wolf was an Emptiness Realm demonic beast, it had its own sense of beauty. Tai Wu, And this expert from the shooting sun god mountain, didn't you guys want to kill us today? Ting Qingshan, who was sitting cross-legged on the back of the six-legged blade-like Qi, said with a smile. The six-legged blade-like Qi looked down at the two humans and one demonic beast with pride. The giant silver wolf looked at the six-legged blade-like Qi with a hint of fear in its eyes. Before the battle, the giant silver wolf dared to fight the six-legged blade-like Qi to the death. However, after the battle, the giant silver wolf realized that it was no match for the six-legged blade-like Qi. If it weren't for the blind swordmaster's help, it would have lost more than just its tail. Shingong 2, can you shoot the void-piercing arrow again? This time, don't shoot Jing Yi. Shoot the demonic beast. You might be able to kill it with one arrow, the blind swordmaster said with the use of the sound transmission technique. How can the void-piercing arrow be made so easily? Shingong 2 replied with the use of the sound transmission technique. Moreover, I saw the battle between the heavenly wolf and the demonic beast. The sharp claws of the heavenly wolf only left some marks on the demonic beast's body. It didn't even break its scales. My void-piercing arrow might be able to penetrate it, but its power would be greatly reduced. Moreover, the demonic beast dodged too quickly. It's almost impossible to hit its vital parts. When Shingong 2 thought about how the six-legged blade-like Qi could split into two and fly in the air, he couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. The demonic beast dodged too quickly. What's the matter? Do you want to fight again? Ting Qingshan sat on the back of the six-legged blade-like Qi and said with a smile, If you're still in the mood, I don't mind eating roasted wolf meat today. Humph. The blind swordmaster snorted coldly. Shingong 2's gaze turned cold. They knew that things were going to be troublesome. Now that Ting Qingshan was on the back of the six-legged blade-like Qi, Shingong 2 and the blind swordmaster wouldn't even be able to touch the six-legged blade-like Qi's tail. If they really fought, the six-legged blade-like Qi would probably launch a sneak attack on the giant silver wolf once Ting Qingshan found an opening. We won't win even if we fight. We will only suffer. What's the point of fighting? Shingong 2 said to the blind swordmaster with the use of the sound transmission technique. The blind swordmaster cast a glance at the terrified silver dragon army and the large number of corpses in the distance. He couldn't help but feel angry and replied with the use of the sound transmission technique. I can't accept this. Last time, I had no choice but to retreat because of Guyong. I didn't expect that Jing Yi would be so lucky to have such a demonic beast that can fly and drill into the ground. Such a demonic beast is even more attractive than two emptiness realm culmination experts. Shingong 2 sighed emotionally. Because of the shooting sun heavenly wolf, many sects fawned over the shooting sun god mountain. After all, emptiness realm demonic beasts were very useful, and very few sects could tame emptiness realm demonic beasts. However, Ting Qingshan's emptiness realm demonic beast was obviously much better than the shooting sun heavenly wolf. Let's go. Let's go. Without hesitation, the blind swordmaster and Shingong 2 soared into the sky with the giant silver wolf. With the three of them together, it would be a waste of energy for Ting Qingshan to launch a sneak attack. Retreat! Retreat! The blind swordmaster's voice rang in the ears of the commander of the Silver Dragon Army. Retreat! The Silver Dragon Army immediately issued an order. Immediately, over 20,000 Silver Dragon soldiers carried their wounded and dead comrades and retreated pathetically. Tai Wu and the expert of the shooting sun god mountain. I hope there won't be a next time. If there is a next time, I don't mind taking my good brother to your sect. Ting Qingshan's voice rang in the ears of the blind swordmaster and Shingong 2, who were hovering in midair. The hearts of the blind swordmaster and Shingong 2 trembled. If Ting Qingshan rode on the six-legged blade-like Qi to wreak havoc in their sect, they would be helpless. It's your stupid idea. You didn't investigate beforehand. Shingong 2 was slightly angry. How would I know? The blind swordmaster was also very displeased. The two parties split up halfway and returned to their respective sections. After the battle, the several 100,000 members of the Gui Yuan sect were extremely excited. Even people like Hu Chuan, who took private jobs, were very happy. Yes, this is what I saw. In a private room of a restaurant, Hu Chuan handed over a piece of paper. A skinny man with a mustache took the paper and opened it. His eyes brightened as he smiled and said, "Hu Chuan, you did very well this time. I have already received 3 pieces of paper. This one is the best and most detailed one. Here you go." With this, the mustached man handed over a small stack of silver notes. Hu Chuan took the notes excitedly and looked at them carefully. They were all silver notes from Yang Yen. Each note was worth 100 taels of silver. There were a total of 6 notes? 600 taels of silver? Hu Chuan was slightly shocked. He didn't believe that the other party gave him the wrong money. Yes, that's right. 600 taels of silver. The mustached man smiled and said, "You did very well this time. Therefore, the extra 100 taels of silver is your reward. Remember, as long as you look at it carefully, I will not mistreat you if you do your best." Hu Chuan chuckled, but in his heart he was thinking, with such a sum of money, it's enough for me to find a good wife. Then I will leave first. Hu Chuan left quietly and closed the door of the private room. The mustached man looked at the piece of paper in his hand and smiled. Almost on the same day, secret letters were sent from Jiangning County City to all parts of the land of the 9 prefectures. Yongzhou in the southeast, Yuzhou in the northeast, Qingzhou, Rongzhou, and Yuzhou. The various sects had people planted in these important places. Pei San rode leisurely on his warhorse, mingling with the vast and mighty army. This Jing Yi is really powerful. Pei San looked at the paper and revealed a rare look of surprise. He actually managed to get his hands on such an emptiness realm demonic beast. With this demonic beast, how could that cunning old thief of Xiao Yao Palace escape? In the Ying family residence in the 3,000 Li Qinling Mountains, there was a secluded underground hall. The hall was filled with sharp swords. With a glance, one could vaguely see a golden-cloaked figure walking in the foggy hall. The figure had a scarlet mole on his forehead. Such a demonic beast? This Jing Yi actually got his hands on such a demonic beast. If the Ying family had such a demonic beast, would the drunkard have succeeded and become a joke of the world? The voice of the golden-cloaked figure could not conceal his excitement. For a time, in the land of the 9 prefectures, many super-powerful experts, who had lived in seclusion for a long time, or super-powerful experts like the reincarnated Buddha of the Mani Temple, all knew about this news. Emptiness realm demonic beasts were too arrogant. There were very few people who could tame an emptiness realm demonic beast, let alone a demonic beast that was good at flying, drilling, and massacring. Everyone was envious. However, the various sects also knew that Jing Yi would not be easy to bully with such a demonic beast. Fortunately, Jing Yi did not belong to any sections. Wouldn't it be wonderful if he could join their sects? Today, the 6th chapter was completed. The 9th chapter, The Return of Qin Shan, was completed. According to Tomato's instructions, he would take a day off after this chapter to relax his body and mind. However, March was the month when Tomato fought fiercely. Tomato would not rest. Tomato would start the next chapter tomorrow. Yes, fight, fight, fight. From the beginning of the month to the end of the month. Tomato only had one goal: first place in the monthly vote. Tomato would write the novel and hand it over to Tomato. I'll leave it to you all to cast your monthly votes. If the monthly votes did not increase, it would be very depressing. Therefore, everyone, please support Tomato and cast all your monthly votes to Tomato. The voting method was to click Recommend the author for monthly vote. Everyone, please. Chapter 488. In Zhuge Yuanhong's study in Jiangning County City, Ting Qingshan and Zhuge Yuanhong were the only two people in the room. Haha, no worries. The Gui Yuan sect has no worries. Zhuge Yuanhong couldn't help but laugh heartily. Teacher, yes. Qinghu Island won't dare to cause trouble for the Gui Yuan sect. However, if the Heavenly God Palace attacks Yangzhou in the future, there will be a lot of trouble, Ting Qingshan said with a frown. Although he was confident, Ting Qingshan didn't think that he could make the Heavenly God Palace give up all of Yangzhou. Maybe it was possible to just give up Jiangning County City to the Gui Yuan sect. However, Ting Qingshan was also ambitious. He wanted the branch of internal martial arts to flourish. How could Jiangning County City be enough? It's not trouble. You have some dealings with the Heavenly God Palace. Because of you, Qingshan, the Heavenly God Palace left Jiangning County City to you. As long as the sovereign of the Heavenly God Palace isn't stupid, he will definitely agree. Zhuge Yuanhong said with a smile. I also know that Qingshan thinks that this county city isn't enough for development. However, don't worry. You can eat as much as you want. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled as he looked at Ting Qingshan. It won't be too late to expand when Qingshan is invincible in the land of the 9 prefectures. I believe that the fiery gilt steel armor and the elixir of the North Sea will be able to play their roles. Yes. Ting Qingshan nodded as he pondered. That's the only way. However, Qingshan, this time you fought against the 3 emptiness realm experts of the Shooting Sun God Mountain and Qinghu Island. If I'm not wrong, many sects in the land of the 9 prefectures will come looking for you, Zhuge Yuanhong said. Why? Ting Qingshan smiled as soon as he said this. He wasn't stupid. He knew what his teacher meant. Yes, even the demon wolf from the Shooting Sun God Mountain has become a hot commodity. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, the blade-like Qi is much better at flying, drilling, and so on. Haha, it's not difficult to get my help. It depends on whether the benefits are good enough. Ting Qingshan laughed strangely. You. Zhuge Yuanhong shook his head and smiled. The laughter of master and disciple echoed in the study. It was clear that today was a happy day. That afternoon, Ting Qingshan rode the 6-legged blade-like Qi back to E-City. E-City, in that enormous mansion. At this moment, it was already the morning of the 2nd day after the battle between the 5 emptiness realm experts under the northern city wall of Jiangning County. On the training field in the outer court of Ting Qingshan's mansion, over 900 youngsters were divided into 2 groups. One group had 45 people, while the other group had over 800 people. From time to time, the 800 or so youths would look at the 45 people with envy. Teacher, these are the 45 people who have cultivated the inner strength. Ting Shou stood beside Ting Qingshan. Oh, it's only been 2 or 3 days. Last time, they said there were 42. Now there are 45. Ting Qingshan nodded with satisfaction and looked at the 45 youths. The 45 youths were practicing the 3 postures over and over again while controlling their breathing. It was obvious that the movements and breathing of these 45 youths were much better than the 800 youths next to them. There was even a sense of beauty, a sense of rhythm. When the 45 youths saw Ting Qingshan, they practiced even more seriously. Not bad. It's a little interesting. Ting Qingshan's face was full of smiles. These were all seeds of the branch of internal martial art. They were the seeds of the branch of internal martial art. Although they were young now, in 10 or 20 years, these people would become the core members of the branch of internal martial art. As he looked at these youths, Ting Qingshan could faintly see the craze of cultivating the internal martial art in the land of the 9 prefectures in 10 or 20 years. Ting Qingshan's gaze fell on one of the youths. When Ting Shou saw this, he hastily introduced, Teacher, this youth is called Ting Hongho. Although he is the oldest, he is the best at practicing the 3 postures and the monkey fist among this group of youths. He is also the first to cultivate the inner strength. Of course I know. Ting Qingshan thought to himself, this Ting Hongho is my nephew. He probably practiced the tiger fist when he was in Tingjia village and has some foundation. When Ting Hongho saw Ting Qingshan staring at him, he became so excited that his body began to tremble. He only knew that the person before him was the legendary Jing Yi. Although Ting Hongho was young and did not know much about Jing Yi. Although he was young and didn't know much about Jing Yi, he knew from his uncle, Ting Qinghu, that Jing Yi was the most powerful person in the land of the 9 prefectures. Moreover, he would never forget the scene where Ting Qingshan caused the earth to crack with a stomp of his foot. This child. Ting Qingshan suddenly frowned and looked up at the sky. "Ah Shou, you are in charge of teaching them." "I am going back to the inner court," Ting Qingshan instructed and headed back to the inner court. At this moment, a beam of light flew across the sky. When it reached the sky above Yi City, it slowed down and turned into a human figure. This person wore an emerald blue robe and had a green thumb ring on his thumb. His hair was white, and the strangest thing was that he had a pair of broom-like eyebrows. Under the broom-like eyebrows was a pair of smiling small eyes. He looked like a rich man. The old man looked down at Yi City with his small eyes and frowned. "This Jing Yi is really arrogant. He didn't come out to greet me when he saw me. That's right. Maybe he thought I was just passing by." Immediately, the old man said with the use of the sound transmission technique, "Brother Jing Yi." "Brother, you are?" Ting Qingshan's voice rang in the old man's ears. In the inner court, Ting Qingshan stood and looked up at the sky. When he saw the Emptiness Realm expert appear in his domain, Ting Qingshan guessed that the Emptiness Realm expert was here to look for him. Ever since the battle, Ting Qingshan and his teacher Zhuge Yuanhong had guessed that someone was here to look for him because of the blade-like qi. Now, it looked like it was true. There are actually many Emptiness Realm culmination experts in the land of the 9 prefectures. I didn't expect that an Emptiness Realm culmination expert would be here to look for me. He really gave me face, Ting Qingshan thought to himself. I wonder which sect he is from. "Haha, I am Yu Tonghai from Emperor Yu's hall." A voice rang in Ting Qingshan's ears. "Yu Tonghai?" Ting Qingshan was shocked. He knew very little about the Emptiness Realm experts in the land of the 9 prefectures. However, he knew a lot about Emperor Yu's hall. "I didn't expect Brother Yu of Emperor Yu's hall to grace us with your presence," Ting Qingshan said with the use of the sound transmission technique. Yu Tonghai, who was hovering in midair, revealed a satisfied look in his small eyes. With a whoosh, he transformed into a beam of green light and instantly landed in the inner court, transforming into a human figure. Ting Qingshan focused his mind and looked. Only then did he know Yu Tonghai's appearance. Broomstick eyebrows and small eyes? A smile appeared on Ting Qingshan's face as he greeted Yu Tonghai. "Brother Jing Yi, where is your demonic beast?" Yu Tonghai went straight to the point. He laughed and said, "Although I am in Yuzhou, I have heard about your demonic beast. I have always been curious about it. Could you please summon it out and let me take a look?" "No problem. Come, Brother Yu, sit here." Ting Qingshan led Yu Tonghai to the pavilion, and the two sat opposite each other. Blade-like qi, Ting Qingshan turned his head and shouted. Yu Tonghai hastily turned his head and looked at a nearby house. Actually, he already knew that the 6-legged blade-like qi was in that house through his domain. The 6-legged blade-like qi appeared in front of the door. Its entire body was pitch black, and its eyes were blood red. It had 2 lower limbs and 4 arms, and its 6 limbs were like 6 blades. It was chilling to look at it. Yu Tonghai stared at the hundreds of sharp spikes on the 6-legged blade-like qi's blade-like arms. He knew that this demonic beast had instantly killed thousands of silver dragon soldiers with its sharp spikes. Roar! The 6-legged blade-like qi cast a cold glance at Yu Tonghai with its blood-red eyes and returned to its residence. "Brother Yu, the blade-like qi has such a temper. When I first got to know it, we had a great battle. After a few battles, we finally became friends. Don't mind its temper, Ting Qingshan said with a smile. Yu Tonghai hastily shook his head and said, I don't mind. It is an emptiness realm demonic beast. It is always a little arrogant. Yu Tonghai was used to seeing arrogant emptiness realm demonic beasts. This was because Emperor Yu's hall had emptiness realm demonic beasts. Brother Jing-yi, according to the information of Emperor Yu's hall, you haven't joined any sect, right? Yu Tonghai looked at Ting Qingshan with a smile and said, In the Heavenly God Palace, Brother Jing-yi is just a foreign dignitary, hoo-ha. Am I right? Ting Qingshan's facial expression remained unchanged, but he was secretly shocked. Very few people knew that Jing-yi was hoo-ha. Although Ting Qingshan didn't put much emphasis on disguise, but the information-gathering ability of Emperor Yu's hall was indeed terrifying, to be able to find out that Jing-yi was hoo-ha. As expected of the oldest sect in the land of the 9 prefectures, Ting Qingshan thought to himself. Yes, I don't belong to any sect, Ting Qingshan said with a smile. Haha, it's good to not belong to any sect. Yu Tonghai laughed and said, Not belonging to any sect means being free and unfettered. Brother Jing-yi, you have such a powerful emptiness realm demonic beast. The land of the 9 prefectures is vast. Brother Jing-yi, you can move unhindered without fear. I am very envious of you. Ting Qingshan didn't feel dizzy from being flattered. He knew that Yu Tonghai had yet to reveal his true intentions. However, not belonging to any sect has its disadvantages. Yu Tonghai sighed and said, For example, how are we going to take care of our children and grandchildren? Although we emptiness realm experts have a lifespan of 500 years, what will happen after we die? After all, even the legendary grass of immortality is useless to us. We can only live for 500 years. Ting Qingshan nodded slightly. The grass of immortality was indeed useless to emptiness realm experts. This was recorded in the book. The lifespan of an emptiness realm expert was 500 years. This was the limit of the heavens and earth. To emptiness realm experts, the grass of immortality's only effect was to heal and protect their lives. If innate experts, postliminary experts, and ordinary people consumed the grass of immortality, their lifespan would increase by 200 years. Moreover, if we really meet a powerful enemy, we can only escape with the emptiness realm demonic beast. We can't kill the enemy. Yu Tonghai sighed. Ting Qingshan only nodded at the side. However, it will be different if we join a sect. Yu Tonghai stared at Ting Qingshan. His eyes glowed faintly as he said, For example, Emperor Yu's hall. Emperor Yu's hall is the oldest sect in the land of the 9 prefectures. After so many years, I don't need to explain the benefit. Brother Jing-yi, you should understand. Ting Qingshan nodded slightly. Yu Tonghai smiled and continued, If Brother Jing-yi is willing to join Emperor Yu's hall, Emperor Yu's hall has prepared a great gift. Here comes the first update, the 10th chapter, A Feudal Lord Begins. Brothers, let's celebrate with our monthly votes. Chapter 489. Yu Tonghai finally revealed his purpose, to invite Jing-yi to join Emperor Yu's hall. Of course, his true purpose was to make the 6-legged blade-like chi work for Emperor Yu's hall. A big gift. Ting Qingshan raised his eyebrows. Yu Tonghai smiled and said confidently, Brother Jing-yi, you must have heard of the godly armor. When you fought against Qing, Hu Island's Blind Tai and Shooting Sun God Mountains, Shengong too, you must have tasted the power of the godly armor. Ting Qingshan's heart thumped. Godly armor? Yu Tonghai continued, The godly armor of Emperor Yu's hall is also extremely rare. However, as long as Brother Jing-yi joins Emperor Yu's hall, even if the other supreme elders of Emperor Yu's hall don't have any godly armor to wear, we will still give you a set of godly armor. With the godly armor, it will be much safer for emptiness realm experts to fight. What exactly is a god armor? Ting Qingshan suddenly asked. Yu Tonghai was startled. He seemed to be stunned. Brother Jing-yi, you don't know? Yu Tonghai was somewhat embarrassed. Ting Qingshan nodded calmly and said, Brother Yu, I don't belong to any sect, nor have I studied this godly armor before. I really don't know. I only know that this godly armor's defense is very strong. Yu Tonghai narrowed his eyes and nodded. Brother Jing-yi, let me put it this way. When an emptiness realm expert reached the culmination of the emptiness realm, he would break through and step into the insightful emptiness realm. You should know that. Ting Qingshan nodded. In the insightful emptiness realm, a void will be produced within one's body. The void here is the meaning of heaven and earth, the world. Yu Tonghai laughed. With the spirit as the core, a void will be born within the Naiwan palace within the body. At that time, the insightful emptiness realm expert would not be using the power of the heavens and earth of the 9 prefectures. Instead, it is his own world energy. Ting Qingshan's heart skipped a beat and he kept it in mind. My own world force? Back then, in the underwater palace of the Great Yen Mountain, Emperor Yu had also mentioned in the recording that an insightful emptiness realm expert's body would produce a rough world and the world. The cultivation process of an insightful emptiness realm expert was the process of perfecting the world and the world. One day, when the world in his body was able to resist the oppression of the land of the 9 prefectures, the world would be complete. At that time, he would be in the omnipotent realm. Insightful emptiness realm experts are suppressed by the land of the 9 prefectures. However, they are able to use their own world energy. Yu Tonghai continued, this world energy possesses a very mystical ability. For example, if you use the power of this world to refine an armor for a long time, it would take decades or even hundreds of years, and this armor would be dozens or even hundreds of times harder than any kind of ore in the 9 regions. Ting Qingshan nodded to himself. Actually, the stone inscriptions of the 36 splitting mountain forms, the celestial jade annulus left behind by Li Taibai, and the entire water palace left behind by Emperor Yu. These were all left behind casually and had not been refined seriously. But the stone carvings, jade annulus, and water palace all had the ability to automatically repair themselves. As Emperor Yu's personal weapon, the splitting mountain axe was extremely hard. When Shingong II of the shooting sun god mountain tried to kill Ting Qingshan with the void-piercing arrow, it was blocked by the splitting mountain axe. Moreover, the splitting mountain axe was not damaged at all. The insightful emptiness realm experts spend decades or even hundreds of years to refine a personal armor using the power of the world. This armor is called the godly armor. Yu Tonghai explained, the defense of this godly armor is extremely shocking. Ordinary emptiness realm experts would find it extremely difficult to break the godly armor. Unless the godly armor is of a lower grade. A lower grade godly armor? Ting Qingshan asked curiously. Ha! Yu Tonghai laughed warmly and said, Brother Jing-yi, the quality of the godly armor depends on the material of the godly armor. However, since it is an insightful emptiness realm expert's armor, the material of the armor will not be bad. This doesn't matter too much. Secondly, it depends on the time taken to refine the godly armor. The power of the godly armor that has been refined for dozens of years and 200 or 300 years will definitely be different. Thirdly, it also depends on the strength of the insightful emptiness realm expert. There are also differences in strength between the insightful emptiness realm expert. Some have just entered the insightful emptiness realm, and some have reached the peak of the insightful emptiness realm. They are only one step away from the omnipotent realm. For example, in Hong Tian City, the Northeast King, Hong Tian, left behind a set of godly armor. The Hong Tian godly armor is one of the best among all the godly armors, Yu Tonghai explained. Ting Qingshan completely understood. Brother Yu, these 4 omnipotent experts should also have godly armors, right? Ting Qingshan asked. Yu Tonghai frowned and felt slightly unhappy. He thought to himself, "Do you think the omnipotent armor is worthy of you?" Although he was unhappy, he still said, "Of course, the armors left behind by the omnipotent experts are not called godly armors. Instead, they are called omnipotent armor or omnipotent armor." In the land of the 9 prefectures, according to what I know, the founder of Emperor Yu's hall, Emperor Yu, the Ing family's heavenly emperor of Qin Mountains, and the Buddhist sect's martial ancestor Shiga should all have omnipotent armor. As for the poetic sword god Li Tai-bai, Senior Li Tai-bai has no fixed residence and has no successor. After so many years, I have never heard of any omnipotent armor left behind by him. The godly armor is indeed a treasure. However, what about the weapons of the insightful emptiness realm experts? Ting Qingshan asked. The weapons that the insightful emptiness realm experts refined using the power of the world for hundreds of years should also be treasures, right? What's the use of weapons? Yu Tonghai shook his head and said, "Sabers, swords, spears, and staffs only need to be able to exert the attacks of the emptiness realm experts. To a child, do you think there's any difference between an ordinary iron saber and an iron saber made of dark steel?" Ting Qingshan only smiled. A weapon only needed to be able to withstand the user's maximum attack. No matter how good the material was, it couldn't increase the user's attack power. This was also the reason why the weapons of the insightful emptiness realm experts and the omnipotent experts didn't cause the people of the world to fight over them. Of course, they were still very memorable. Yu Tonghai and Ting Qingshan chatted for a long time. Finally, Yu Tonghai couldn't help but ask, "Brother Jing-yi, you have seen the sincerity of Emperor Yu's hall. Now, tell me, are you willing to join Emperor Yu's hall? Don't worry. I know that your wife is the saintess of the snowy lotus cult of the heavenly god palace. Emperor Yu's hall will not make things difficult for you. We will definitely not let you deal with the heavenly god palace in the future." "Brother Yu," Ting Qingshan said apologetically, "Emperor Yu's hall is the oldest sect in the land of the 9 prefectures. If I wanted to join a sect, I would probably choose Emperor Yu's hall. However, I am used to being free and unfettered. I really don't want to join a sect now. This time, Brother Yu made a wasted trip. It's really... Phew." Yu Tonghai immediately stood up, cupped his hands and said, "All right, Brother Jing-yi. You don't have to say any more. I understand. Whenever you want to join Emperor Yu's hall, just go to Yu City." "Definitely." Ting Qingshan also stood up. Yu Tonghai immediately walked out of the pavilion and transformed into a beam of green light, flying towards the horizon. Soon, he flew out of Ting Qingshan's domain. High up in the sky, Yu Tonghai's small eyes flickered with a cold glint under his broom-like eyebrows. He cursed in a low voice, "This Jing-yi is really putting on airs. I spoke so nicely, but he didn't give me any face. I talked to him for so long. What a waste of saliva." With a wave of his sleeve, Yu Tonghai flew even faster and disappeared into the northwest horizon. "Invite me to join Emperor Yu's hall?" Ting Qingshan shook his head. How could he join another sect? These sects weren't a place where one could join and betray as one wished. Join first, get a set of godly armor, and then betray? Emperor Yu's hall would probably go crazy and hunt him down. They would do anything to those who betrayed their sect. Of course, when Ting Qingshan betrayed the Guiyuan sect, it was a different story. Everyone was smart. Even many people in the Guiyuan sect were proud of Ting Qingshan. Godly armor. If I really had a set of godly armor and fought against an emptiness realm expert. Thinking of that scene, Ting Qingshan looked forward to it. Unfortunately, godly armor was too rare. Even the oldest sect, Emperor Yu's hall, didn't dare to let all the emptiness realm experts in the sect wear godly armor. At this moment, Taipan? Qing-Hu Island's Taipan? He is the island lord of Qing-Hu Island. Why did he come to E City? Isn't he afraid that I will kill him? Ting Qingshan was slightly puzzled. With his domain, he could clearly see Tai-Pan riding a top-notch warhorse on the official road outside E-City. He was heading towards the gate of E-City alone. Tai-Pan's golden hair made him very famous. People in the land of the 9 prefectures called him the golden-haired lion Tai-Pan. However, today, Tai-Pan had cut off his golden hair, leaving only 3 inches long. Moreover, he wore a hat on his head. From the surface, it was impossible to tell that he had golden hair. After entering E-City, Tai-Pan led the warhorse with ease and arrived in front of Ting Qingshan's residence. "Who are you?" the guard of the residence shouted. "This is my name card. Please pass the message that I want to see Senior Jing Yi." As Tai-Pan spoke, he took out a name card from his bosom. There was also a banknote on the name card. When the guard saw the name card, his eyes brightened. He took it with a smile and said, Wait a moment. I will help you pass the name card in. However, there are many people who want to see Senior Jing Yi. I can't guarantee that Senior Jing Yi will not see you." For the sake of the banknote, the guard purposely said a few more words. Immediately, the guard signaled the other guard beside him with his eyes and immediately ran into the residence. In the inner court, Teacher, Ting Shou ran in. Ting Qingshan threw the reincarnation spear in his hand and inserted it into the weapon rack nearby. "Teacher, do you know who is coming?" Ting Shou smiled as he held a name card. "The Island Lord of Qing Hu Island, Tai-Pan, right?" Ting Qingshan smiled as he walked over. When Ting Shou heard this, he froze and said, "I forgot that teacher can see the surrounding 34 li. Let him in. I want to see what the Island Lord of Qing Hu Island is doing here," Ting Qingshan instructed. "Yes." Ting Shou ran out. Ting Qingshan walked to the pavilion and sat down. He poured himself a cup of tea and took a sip leisurely. At this moment, Tai-Pan had already appeared at the entrance of the inner court. Tai-Pan had taken off his hat, and his short golden hair made him look rather valiant. However, he walked very cautiously and didn't dare to walk in the same manner as he did in Qing Hu Island. Tai-Pan greets Senior Jing Yi. Tai-Pan stood outside the pavilion and saluted respectfully. Tai-Pan's heart was filled with apprehension. Ting Qingshan held the teacup and glanced at Tai-Pan. Suddenly, his eyes turned cold as he said coldly, "Tai-Pan, you are very daring. You actually dare to come to my place alone. Why? Do you think that I don't dare to kill you because of my status?" The second chapter has arrived. There's still a third chapter, on the monthly votes list. The monthly votes for the story of the 9 cauldrons will reach 4,000 votes in just a few dozen votes. Everyone, please help. Chapter 490. Although Tai-Pan was the Island Lord of Qing Hu Island, in front of an emptiness realm expert, especially an enemy emptiness realm expert, he couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. "Senior Jing Yi, I know that Qing Hu Island has had several conflicts with Senior Jing Yi." Tai-Pan was nervous, but he still spoke forcefully. "My martial ancestor did something wrong. This time, I came as the Island Lord of Qing Hu Island to apologize to Senior Jing Yi." Ting Qingshan was slightly surprised. "Apologize to me? Would blind Tai bow his head to me?" "Senior Jing Yi, when the martial ancestor attacked the Guiyuan sect and killed you, it was all for the sake of Qing Hu Island," Tai-Pan said respectfully. "Senior, please be magnanimous and don't mind these things. This is a small gift from Qing Hu Island." With this, Tai-Pan took out a card from his bosom and handed it to Ting Qingshan respectfully. Phew! A gust of wind blew, and the card flew up and landed on the table beside Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan opened the card and read, 3 Gene of Imperial Jade, 2 tricolored flowers. The card was a list of gifts, and dozens of treasures were recorded in detail. Almost all of these treasures were priceless. Ting Qingshan was shocked when he saw this. Qing Hu Island was indeed rich. "I hope you can forget about the matter between Senior and Qing Hu Island." Tai Pan looked at Ting Qingshan's expression carefully. Forget. Ting Qingshan stared coldly at Tai Pan. Tai Pan became anxious. He knew from his martial ancestor, the blind sword master, that Jing Yi and the blind sword master were like fire and water after the two battles. If one of them was strong enough, he would definitely kill the other. The two of them were enemies, yet they wanted to mend their relationship as if there was no hatred between them. It was too difficult. Just as martial brother Gu Yong said, Emptiness Realm experts are people who care a lot about their reputation. At their level, reputation is very important. Martial ancestor and Jing Yi have been enemies, and they are like fire and water. Tai Pan was anxious. Now, the news of the Emptiness Realm demonic beast is known to the world. I'm sure many sects want to befriend Jing Yi. This Jing Yi used that demonic beast as a condition to get the other party to help him kill Master. This is definitely possible. Tai Pan was very clear about this. Actually, when the blind sword master returned and calmed down, he understood. Gu Yong was the first to notice the danger. A crisis that could lead to the extinction of Qinghu Island. For example, if someone wanted to borrow the six-legged blade-like qi from Ting Qingshan would only need to make one request: help him kill the blind sword master. The Emperor Yu's Hall and the Ying family would probably not refuse. This was because once the blind sword master died, Qinghu Island would no longer have an Emptiness Realm expert. Thus, Qinghu Island would no longer be a threat. This wasn't too difficult a task, so there would definitely be a super expert who would agree to it. The blind sword master knew that there were still experts in the land of the 9 prefectures who could kill him. Putting aside the insightful Emptiness Realm expert, just 2 Emptiness Realm culmination experts and the 6-legged blade-like qi were enough to kill the blind sword master. If the martial ancestor dies, Qinghu Island will be finished. Right now, senior martial brother Gu Yong has yet to break through to the Emptiness Realm. I don't know if he will have to wait 10 or 20 years, or even longer to break through to the Emptiness Realm. Tai Pan was worried and afraid. Suddenly, whoosh! The list of gifts was thrown from the pavilion and smashed in front of Tai Pan. Tai Pan's heart trembled. It's finished? He looked up at Ting Qingshan and said anxiously, Senior, Qinghu Island is sincere this time. We will definitely not attack the Gui Yuan sect again. You want to bribe me with these gifts? Ting Qingshan sat in the pavilion and looked down at Tai Pan, whose forehead was covered with sweat. Tai Pan, these gifts are indeed spiritual treasures of the heavens and the earth. However, they are useless to me. As for this blind Tai, let him stay in Qinghu Island obediently and don't do anything. I might be too lazy to deal with him, but if he does anything, don't blame me for being merciless. Senior is magnanimous. Tai Pan shouted excitedly. He could tell that as long as the blind sword master didn't do anything, he wouldn't care about Qinghu Island. Why are you still here? Ting Qingshan said coldly. Tai Pan hastily smiled and said, I will leave now. These gifts will be. I said I don't want them. Ting Qingshan's face darkened as he shouted, Get lost! When Tai Pan saw that Ting Qingshan was angry, he was so scared that his heart trembled. He didn't dare to say anything else. He cupped his hands and left. As Tai Pan disappeared from his sight, Ting Qingshan picked up his teacup and took a sip. He sneered and said, This blind Tai is really smart. Indeed, I can rely on the 6-legged blade-like qi and ask the other sects to send Emptiness Realm experts to kill him. However, it's not time yet. Ting Qingshan had already thought this through. What would be the consequences of killing the blind sword master? Qinghu Island would collapse. Who would control Yangzhou then? The Gui Yuan sect? Perhaps the Heavenly God Palace and Emperor Yu's Hall would come and take this piece of meat. It would be even more difficult for the Gui Yuan sect to occupy Yangzhou. I'll let Qinghu Island take the lead first. Ting Qingshan thought to himself, it won't take too long. In a few months, Little Blue will arrive. With Little Blue's speed, the godly thunderbolt hawk that knows the Tao of thunder and lightning won't be able to catch up to Little Blue. When the time comes, I'll kill them one by one. With the help of the six-legged blade-like Chi and the undying phoenix, who was even stronger than the six-legged blade-like Chi, Ting Qingshan would be able to occupy Yangzhou. No one in the land of the 9 prefectures would dare to say anything. After all, the six-legged blade-like Chi, Little Blue, and Ting Qingshan were a combination. They were probably even more difficult to deal with than the combination of the 4 emptiness realm experts of Qing Hu Island and the Shooting Sun God Mountain. Moreover, Little Blue has learned its mother's ultimate technique. Ting Qingshan was filled with anticipation as he thought to himself, according to Little Blue's mother, when Little Blue had just broken through to the emptiness realm, it was unable to move unhindered in the land of the 9 prefectures. Only after learning the ultimate technique that Little Blue had comprehended for thousands of years could it move unhindered in the land of the 9 prefectures and have the ability to protect itself. Ting Qingshan was filled with anticipation. He wanted to know how powerful Little Blue would be. Moreover, behind Little Blue was the even more terrifying Little Blue's mother. Little Blue was a hidden force. Now that I've accepted those gifts, I won't be able to destroy Qing Hu Island. I'll say a few words first. Wait for Little Blue to arrive. Ting Qingshan's eyes glinted with coldness. In the past, Qing Hu Island had been overbearing and arrogant. They had chased him all over the world to kill him, but his father had almost died. There was also Lady Qing, that kind and simple Lady Qing. Soon. More than half a year has passed. No matter how late Little Blue is, it should arrive in 3 to 5 months. Ting Qingshan said to himself, that's the time to settle the score. Asterisk. Everything went as Ting Qingshan had expected. After they found out that Ting Qingshan possessed a terrifying demonic beast that could fly and drill into the ground, the great sects sent their emptiness realm experts to visit Ting Qingshan. Some sects knew that they couldn't invite Ting Qingshan to join them, so they came to form a relationship with him. Some sects tempted Ting Qingshan to join them with large amounts of treasures and gifts. In Ting Qingshan's opinion, among the 4 most powerful forces, Mani Temple, Emperor Yu's Hall, the Ying family, and the Heavenly God Palace, the Mani Temple and the Heavenly God Palace didn't come to visit Ting Qingshan. Among the great sects, the Ying family was the most sincere. It seems like the Ying family really wants an emptiness realm demonic beast to protect their clan. Ting Qingshan held the reincarnation spear on the training field as he thought to himself, besides giving me the insightful godly armor, they are also willing to lend me the precious treasure of the Ying family, the divine decree of the Emperor of Heaven. If it was an ordinary emptiness realm expert, he might really be tempted. Among the 4 great divine codices of the land of the 9 prefectures, the Green Lotus Sword Song was only a legend. No one had inherited this technique. The Golden Buddha of the Mani Temple, the Heavenly Book of the 9 Cauldrons of Emperor Yu's Hall, and the divine decree of the Emperor of Heaven of the Ying family were all techniques that could tempt even emptiness realm experts. For example, how long had it been since Ting Qingshan stepped into the emptiness realm? However, he could use 70% of the power of the heavens and earth, including his physical strength, to display a power that was slightly more than 80% of the power of the heavens and earth. He relied on Emperor Yu's most powerful technique, the 36 splitting mountain forms. Without this technique, Ting Qingshan would only be able to display 65% of the power of the heavens and earth. The difference between the power of the heavens and earth was almost 20%. 4 emptiness realm culmination experts, the godly codex was even more effective. For example, although Shengong II of the Shooting Sun God Mountain had reached emptiness realm culmination, he could only display 90% of the power of the heavens and earth through his saber art. If he had a godly codex to comprehend, with 100% of the power of the heavens and earth, he could even display 120% of the power of the heavens and earth. The difference between the power of the heavens and earth was 30%. Therefore, a godly codex was even more effective than comprehending one more Tao. While Ting Qingshan was hiding in E-City, cultivating his spear art, comprehending the water elemental Tao, and thinking of ways to step into the threshold of the wood elemental Tao in the headquarters of the Snowy Lotus cult in Huyue County of Qingzhou. Teacher Li Jun, who was dressed in a purple cloak, bowed respectfully to the high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult. Little Jun, this is the sovereign, the high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult said respectfully. Li Jun held her breath as she thought to herself, He is the sovereign? The sovereign of the heavenly god palace? Li Jun stole a glance at the man beside the high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult. This was a chubby, fair-skinned, middle-aged man with an amiable smile. His eyes were like the boundless starry sky that could make one sink into it. Little Jun, the high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult, called out. Li Jun was startled and hastily bowed. Greetings, sovereign. Haha, the master of beast language of our heavenly god palace is so young. Moreover, he has reached the innate realm at such a young age. He is really amazing. Pei San praised. Moreover, he has a very powerful husband. Li Jun, did you know that your husband has an emptiness realm demonic beast? I just found out. Li Jun replied respectfully. However, she felt proud of Ting Qingshan. She thought to herself, you are shocked just like that? If you knew that Jing Yi is Ting Qingshan, your eyeballs would probably pop out of your sockets. Yes. Pei San smiled and nodded. Your husband is the foreign dignitary of the heavenly god palace, but I have never seen him. Let's go. Li Jun, follow your teacher and me to see your husband. Pei San smiled. Originally, he had planned to see Jing Yi after destroying Hong Tian City. However, Jing Yi had a powerful demonic beast, so he had to act earlier. See Huha? Li Jun was shocked. Little Jun, why are you still here? The high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult hastily pulled her disciple. Immediately, the high priestess and Li Jun flew toward Yangzhou under Pei San's lead. Today, Tomato will only write 3 chapters. This is the opening chapter of the 10th chapter. It's a foreshadowing and can't be messed up. At the same time, I want to make an announcement. There will be at least 4 chapters tomorrow. In March, Tomato will fight to the end. During the 3 or 4 days of the Qigyan Writers' Annual Conference, Tomato may update slowly. During the other 26 or 27 days, Tomato will update at least 3 chapters every day. Moreover, it will go berserk frequently. Today, I will adjust 3 chapters and tomorrow I will go berserk again. In short, Tomato wants to fight for the monthly votes ranking in March. However, to be honest, Tomato doesn't agree with spending a lot of money to buy monthly vote. After all, everyone's money is earned through hard work or saved from their living expenses. Actually, as long as everyone can vote for 1 or 2 monthly vote, it won't be a problem to rush to the first place in March. Tomato has already said his piece. During the 3 or 4 days of the Qigyan Writers' Annual Conference, Tomato will update at least 3 chapters every 26 or 27 days. Moreover, he will go berserk frequently. When he goes berserk, he will update at least 4 chapters until he is exhausted. Brothers, don't save your monthly vote. Look in your personal study room and check your pocket. Do you have any monthly votes? Give your monthly votes to Tomato. Chapter 491. High up in the sky, several hundred li away from E-City, a gray flowing light with flickering electric arcs enveloped Pei San, the high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult, and Li Jun. It then flew toward E-City at an astonishing speed. The 3 people in the stream of light were like immortals. Father, E-City is just ahead, the high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult said with a smile. Pei San smiled as he looked in the direction of E-City. Li Jun, who was at the side, was slightly nervous. Although it was a few hundred li away, with Pei San's flying speed, he arrived in the sky above E-City in a short while. He stopped, and the three of them could be seen clearly. Pei San looked down and smiled. Our luck is not bad. Jing Yi is indeed in E-City. E-City, in the inner courtyard of Ting Qingshan's mansion. Ting Qingshan, who was practicing his fist art, suddenly stopped. He raised his head and looked at the sky with a puzzled expression. Why is little June here? Moreover, he isn't riding on the six-legged blade-like chi. No, it's not the black power of heaven and earth, but a black hole? What is this? Ting Qingshan was shocked. He sensed the auras flying in the sky, but there were only two of them. One belonged to Li Jun, and the other belonged to the High Priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult. At the same time, he also discovered that the auras of Li Jun and the High Priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult seemed to have fallen into a black hole. The power of the heavens and earth of the land of the 9 prefectures was madly gathering around the black hole. The density of the power of the heavens and earth was astonishing. Originally, Ting Qingshan thought that this black hole was formed by a type of heaven and earth energy, but when he carefully sensed it, he realized that this black hole was actually a black hole. But to his astonishment, this black hole was definitely not the power of the 9 states. Ting Qingshan had met many emptiness realm experts. For example, the blind swordmaster's power was black. However, the blind swordmaster's black power of the heavens and the earth was completely different from this strange black hole. What is this? How could little June and the High Priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult fly over? There are no flying demonic beasts beside them, and I didn't sense any aura of an emptiness realm expert's soul either. Ting Qingshan was still in shock when suddenly, whoosh! The black hole that enveloped Li Jun and the High Priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult paused in midair for a moment. Then, like a meteorite falling from the sky, it rapidly fell towards the training field of the inner court where Ting Qingshan was. Roar! The 6-legged blade-like chi scuttled to Ting Qingshan's side. Its blood-red eyes were filled with vigilance. Obviously, the 6-legged blade-like chi had also noticed the uniqueness of this black hole. When the black hole in his domain appeared in his line of sight and landed in the inner courtyard, Lin Fan's eyes widened. Ting Qingshan was shocked to discover that this was actually a strange power that flickered with faint lightning. Within this power there were 3 people: the High Priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult, Li Jun, and a middle-aged man with fair skin, dressed in a brown cloak. No matter how calm Ting Qingshan was, he couldn't help but reveal a shocked expression. Haha, Li Jun, it seems like your husband is very surprised to see me, Pei San said with a smile. Hoo-ha! Li Jun hastily ran to Ting Qingshan's side and introduced, "This is the sovereign of the Heavenly God Palace." Sovereign? Ting Qingshan was still in disbelief. He exclaimed inwardly, "I've seen this man before. I've seen him before. It's actually him. Pei San. The mysterious rich Pei San who bought Meng Duan in Wuan County City. The Pei San who had an innate expert as his bodyguard. The Pei San who dared to disrespect Gu Shiyu." Although Ting Qingshan had felt that Pei San was mysterious in the past, he had never imagined that Pei San had such a powerful background. Pei San, the sovereign of the Heavenly God Palace. No wonder Pei San didn't respect Gu Shiyu at all and spoke so arrogantly. That's right. Even the entire Qing Hu Island was nothing to the sovereign of the Heavenly God Palace. However, although Pei San looked down on Gu Shiyu in the past, he had a special purpose for me. He even sent his bodyguard to test me. Why? Although Ting Qingshan was confused, Ting Qingshan remained calm on the surface. "Greetings, sovereign." Ting Qingshan hastily cupped his hands and said. Pei San smiled faintly, appearing very amiable. He then asked, "Should I call you Jing Yi or foreign dignitary Hoo-ha?" Hoo-ha. Ting Qingshan smiled as well. Pei-san nodded. Foreign dignitary Hua, you seemed very surprised to see me just now. Why? Ting Qingshan shook his head and smiled. Sovereign, firstly, I have never seen you before. I was slightly surprised to see you. Secondly, and also the most important reason, I sensed with my domain just now that Sovereign is actually surrounded by a black hole. I couldn't sense your aura. Therefore, I was very surprised. Even though Pei-san was standing in front of Ting Qingshan could still sense that there was still a black hole surrounding Pei-san's body. Black hole? That's a good description. Pei-san's eyes brightened as he said with a smile. It seems that foreign dignitary Hua has never seen an insightful emptiness realm expert. Pei-san no longer doubted. Normally, emptiness realm experts would be shocked when they saw an insightful emptiness realm expert for the first time. This was because they could only sense a black hole instead of a dazzling aura of a soul that was like the sun. Yes. Ting Qingshan nodded. Hua, when you achieve emptiness realm culmination and reach the insightful emptiness realm, you will be the same. It's the same for you. Pei-san smiled faintly and said, the insightful emptiness realm expert uses the power of his own world and is repelled by the land of the 9 prefectures. The domain of an emptiness realm expert is merged with the power of the heavens and earth to observe others. Pei-san continued, I use the power of my own world. The power of the heavens and earth in the land of the 9 prefectures can't detect my power. Therefore, in your perception, it's just a pitch-black void. Ting Qingshan suddenly understood. What he couldn't sense was a pitch-black void. He is indeed an insightful emptiness realm expert. Ting Qingshan thought to himself. No matter how he looked at it, the chubby middle-aged man before him didn't seem scary at all. However, Ting Qingshan's domain clearly told him that the person before him was an existence that he shouldn't provoke. I see. Ting Qingshan smiled shamefully and said, I am ignorant and inexperienced. I have never seen an insightful emptiness realm expert. Sovereign, please excuse me. Sovereign, please take a seat and rest here. Ting Qingshan led the way and led Pei-san and the others to a pavilion at the side. Pei-san and Ting Qingshan sat down. Little Lien, sit down with Li Jun. Pei-san didn't put on any airs. Yes, father. The high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult held her disciple's hand and sat down as well. Pei-san met me in the past. It seems that he still hasn't recognized me. Insightful emptiness realm experts aren't much better at recognizing people than emptiness realm expert. Ting Qingshan calmed down a little. This time, Ting Qingshan was wrong. Actually, insightful emptiness realm experts were much better at judging people. This was because the insightful emptiness realm experts did not rely on the power of the heavens and earth of the land of the 9 prefectures to detect them. Instead, they relied on their own power of the world to observe. Emptiness realm experts relied on the power of the heavens and earth of the land of the 9 prefectures. Because they were all living beings of the heavens and earth, they could only borrow the power of the heavens and earth of the 9 prefectures. Therefore, they could only sense the aura of life. However, the insightful emptiness realm experts were different. Their world force swept past as if they were seeing it with their own eyes. This was also the reason why, back in the Huyue prefecture, Li Tianlan's heart was filled with hatred. When Pei-san used the power of his own world, he could see through Ting Qingshan's chest and discover the splitting mountain axe and the 2 parts of the reincarnation spear. One was sensing. One seemed to see with his own eyes. This was the difference between an emptiness realm expert and an insightful emptiness realm expert. But, the insightful emptiness realm experts couldn't observe the area within a radius of 34 li like the emptiness realm expert. This was because the insightful emptiness realm experts were repelled by the heavens and earth. They could only release a trace of the power of the heavens and earth when necessary. The power of the heavens and earth swept across the area like a long thread. It was impossible for them to wantonly spread out their own world power and observe the sky and underground at the same time. He could only release a thread of the world's energy. This was the most economical way. Furthermore, the length of the power of the world released was also related to the realm of the insightful emptiness realm expert. The length of the power of the world released by a beginner insightful emptiness realm expert and a peak insightful emptiness realm expert were different. The stronger one was, the longer the duration would be. If he reached the omnipotent realm, he would be able to completely resist the suppression of Jojo, and the scope of his observation would be too exaggerated. As Pei San and Ting Qingshan chatted casually, the high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult would occasionally interrupt their conversation. Suddenly, foreign dignitary Huha, some time ago, the heavenly god palace annihilated Xiao Yao Palace and occupied the entire Qingzhou. However, that old bastard of Xiao Yao Palace managed to escape. During this period of time, that old bastard has sneak attacked the important places of the heavenly god palace 3 times. Several innate experts of the heavenly god palace have died in his hands. Many of the innate experts of the heavenly god palace have died in his hands. Although Pei San said that he was angry, his tone wasn't harsh. However, his eyes seemed to be filled with terrifying lightning bolts. At this moment, Ting Qingshan felt the aura that suddenly rose from Pei San's body. This Pei San is really angry, Ting Qingshan thought to himself. However, this Pei San is also gloomy. No matter how angry he is, he still speaks so calmly. The reason why we can't catch him is that the heavenly god palace doesn't have an emptiness realm demonic beast that can drill into the ground. Pei San stared at Ting Qingshan and said, Huha, I came here this time to see you, the foreign dignitary. After all, we have never met before. Indeed, Pei San didn't recognize Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan's height changed, and so did his appearance. Moreover, his appearance was controlled by his muscles and bones. It wasn't a human skin mask or makeup. Therefore, Pei San didn't notice it. Moreover, the aura of his soul was different when he reached the emptiness realm. Although Pei San was an insightful emptiness realm expert, he still couldn't see through Ting Qingshan. Secondly, I want to ask you for a favor. I want to borrow your emptiness realm demonic beast. Pei San smiled as he looked at Ting Qingshan and said, I heard that your emptiness realm demonic beast can drill into the ground and easily catch up with the demonic wolf of the shooting sun god mountain. You even broke its tail. Ting Qingshan nodded with a smile. There was no need to deny this. Too many people knew about this. Sovereign, I can't agree to you borrowing the blade-like chi. The blade-like chi has to agree, Ting Qingshan answered. Yes. All emptiness realm demonic beasts have bad tempers. Pei San nodded with a smile and said, You and Li Jun can help me persuade this demonic beast. If you help me, I will owe you a favor. I rarely owe people favors. In the future, you can use this favor to ask me to do something for you. I can go to Emperor Yu's hall or Mani Temple to help you kill people. Ting Qingshan was shocked. He couldn't help but exchange a glance with Li Jun. A favor from Pei San? A favor from the sovereign of the heavenly god palace? The value of this favor was huge. Today is Berserk Day. There will be at least 4 chapters, maybe even more. Tomato will use facts to tell everyone that voting for Tomato is the right choice. Continue writing. Chapter 492. Sovereign, let me and Little June ask the blade-like chi about this matter. Ting Qingshan immediately stood up and did as he said. He and Li Jun headed toward the residence of the 6-legged blade-like chi in the pavilion. Father, owe me a favor for this? The high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult, Pei Shuilian, stared at her father. In her opinion, her father was the most outstanding and talented person in the land of the 9 prefectures. Even if he went to another sect, it wouldn't be difficult for him to ask an emptiness realm demonic beast for help. Even if Pei San didn't want to bow down to other sects, Pei San knew the language of beasts. Pei San taught Wu Ho the skills of the king of beasts. Since Pei San knew the language of beasts, he could find some independent emptiness realm demonic beasts. As an insightful emptiness realm expert, Pei San could ask an emptiness realm demonic beast for help. Even a demonic beast that had attained emptiness realm culmination would most likely agree. However, Pei San actually asked Huha for help. Pei San glanced at her with a smile and said with the use of the sound transmission technique, "Little Lien, yes, I do have another way. However, owing favors was also a matter of skill. Sometimes, owing favors isn't a bad thing. Now I owe Huha a favor. Naturally, he will be closer to me. Even if I can't get him to join the Heavenly God Palace, he will be closer to the Heavenly God Palace." The High Priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult suddenly understood. If a favor is too great, it will become an enemy. Similarly, owing favors will make one a better friend. Pei San turned to look at the six-legged blade-like cheese house and said to himself, "I hope Huha can persuade that demonic beast. That old thief of Xiao Yao Palace is like a flirt, always jumping out to annoy people." Inside the house, Ting Qingshan controlled the power of the heavens and earth and froze the surrounding space so that no sound could be heard. Big Brother Huha a favor? Li Jun looked at Ting Qingshan happily and said, "This is a good thing. Yes. Getting a favor from him is indeed beneficial." Ting Qingshan nodded and said, "Little Jun, talk to the blade-like Qi." Based on Ting Qingshan's understanding of the six-legged blade-like Qi's personality, the six-legged blade-like Qi would most likely agree to this. This was because the six-legged blade-like Qi was a demonic beast that loved to fight. Roar, roar, roar. The roars emitted from Li Jun's throat were sometimes high and sometimes low, and there was a certain rhythm to them. The six-legged blade-like Qi stared at Li Jun with joy in its blood-red eyes. Clearly, he hadn't seen Li Jun for a long time. He let out a low growl and started chatting with Li Jun. A moment later, Big Brother Huha. Li Jun was still very cautious. Since Pei San and the others were outside, she didn't dare to call for Qingshan. The six-legged blade-like Qi said that it would be easy to get it to help kill someone. It agreed, but what? Ting Qingshan was startled. Li Jun giggled and said, "The six-legged blade-like Qi said that it is happy to fight against experts. But if the enemy is too strong, don't let it go. It doesn't want to die yet." Haha. Ting Qingshan laughed and said, "Little Jun, tell it to be careful if it senses a black hole like the one outside. Don't worry about anything else, just turn around and run. That's an insightful emptiness realm expert." Just like Ting Qingshan, this was the first time the six-legged blade-like Qi sensed an insightful emptiness realm expert. Yes. Li Jun reminded the six-legged blade-like Qi in the future, if it sensed a black hole again, the six-legged blade-like Qi would know that the opponent was an insightful emptiness realm expert. "Sovereign, this matter has been settled." Ting Qingshan and Li Jun sat down together and said, "The blade-like Qi agreed." "Oh, if that's the case." Pei San immediately stood up and said, "Huha, Li Jun, get ready. Take the six-legged blade-like Qi and follow me to Yuzhou." "Yuzhou in the northeast? Now?" Ting Qingshan was slightly astonished. "Of course, now." The High Priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult said, "Foreign dignitary Huha, the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace is very cunning. Who knows when he will launch a sneak attack? We can only wait for him to strike. If you stay in E City and wait for us to find the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace and come to invite you, we don't know where he would have escaped to. You and the demonic beast named Blade-like Qi will come with us. When the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace appears, the two of you will attack and kill him." A cold glint flashed in the eyes of the High Priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult. Ting Qingshan completely understood what the High Priestess meant. "Haha, that's fine. I have nothing to do in E City for now anyway. Ting Qingshan nodded with a smile and said, "Moreover, the army of the Heavenly God Palace is like a hot knife cutting through butter in Yuzhou. They have already occupied more than half of Yuzhou. I reckon that in a few days, they will attack and occupy Hongtian City. We must take a good look at this battle." "Yes." Pei San nodded with a smile and said, "Let's go now." Ting Qingshan took the wooden box containing the splitting mountain axe, Li Jun, and the six-legged blade-like Qi and followed Pei San and the high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult out of Yi City. Before they left, Ting Qingshan entrusted some matters to his eldest disciple, Ting Shou. After reaching the emptiness realm, the six-legged blade-like Qi's body wasn't big. Its back was narrow, so it could only carry 3 people. At this moment, the high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult, Li Jun, and Ting Qingshan were all sitting on the back of the six-legged blade-like Qi. Only Pei San was flying beside the six-legged blade-like Qi. Fortunately, the six-legged blade-like Qi slowed down and maintained the same speed as Pei San. Otherwise, the six-legged blade-like Qi would have left Pei San far behind. Although Pei San was powerful, his flying speed was still not as fast as an emptiness realm demonic beast. High up in the sky, above the clouds, 4 humans and 1 demonic beast were flying northward. "Hoo-ha!" Pei San said with a smile as he flew. "In the future, Li Jun will be the high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult of the Heavenly God Palace. Hoo-ha, you don't belong to any sect. I, Pei San, as the sovereign of the Heavenly God Palace, would like to invite you to join the Heavenly God Palace. What do you think?" Ting Qingshan froze and turned to look at Pei San. Pei San's gaze was filled with sincerity. If Ting Qingshan was alone and had no ambition, it would be a good thing for him to join the Heavenly God Palace. However, he still had many things to do. The Gui Yuan sect also needed his support. How could he join the Heavenly God Palace and listen to the orders of others? "I'm sorry to disappoint the sovereign." Ting Qingshan declined politely. "I'm sure the Heavenly God Palace already knows that there are many youths in my residence. In this life, I want to pass down what I have learned and comprehended to the next generation." Pei San raised his eyebrows and said with a faint smile, "It's a good thing to establish a sect." Then he said no more. Who was he? Since Ting Qingshan had rejected his formal invitation, Pei San wouldn't pester him endlessly. After flying for a long time, they finally entered the territory of Yuzhou. "It's below." The dusky flowing light surrounding Pei San suddenly expanded and enveloped Ting Qingshan, the high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult, and Li Jun. "Let's go down." Pei San carried the few of them and dove down with the six-legged blade-like Qi following behind them. However, at this moment, Pei San's facial expression changed as he cast a deep glance at Ting Qingshan. In this world, there were very few things that could make Pei San's facial expression change so drastically. This was because when Pei San had carried Ting Qingshan, the high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult, and the others down, he had also examined Ting Qingshan's body. If an insightful emptiness realm expert wanted to examine someone, he would need to release a trace of his power of the world. In the eyes of an emptiness realm expert, this trace of power of the world was a pitch-black thread. Previously, when Pei San asked Ting Qingshan to do something for him, he naturally couldn't use a thread of the power of the world to examine Ting Qingshan. That would be too impolite. Now, when Pei San was diving down, he seemed to casually use his power of the world to carry the few of them down, but he was able to examine Ting Qingshan thoroughly. He actually... Pei San was extremely shocked. He wasn't shocked by the splitting mountain axe in Ting Qingshan's wooden box. It was because the power of the world could only be used to observe and not to analyze the substance. Therefore, in his eyes, the splitting mountain axe was just a slightly more powerful weapon. It looked different from how it was a few years ago. He didn't see anything special about the splitting mountain axe. What really shocked him was, there was a jade box and a small tripod in Ting Qingshan's bosom. There were 2 grass of immortality in the jade box, and Ting Qingshan was wearing the 9 prefectures cauldron on his chest. The grass of immortality. Ting Qingshan always carried 2 grass of immortality with him, just in case of an accident during a fight. After all, the grass of immortality could save lives at critical moments. For example, if Li Jun's vital point was pierced and she was about to die, she wouldn't wait for Ting Qingshan to run back to retrieve the grass of immortality. It was very important to carry it with him. Ting Qingshan always carried the small tripod with him. The grass of immortality? He actually has the grass of immortality? The 9 prefectures cauldron? He even has this kind of treasure? Pei San was completely astonished. Only the undying phoenix in the North Sea has the grass of immortality. Back then, I traveled all over the desolate land and the land of the 9 prefectures before I finally found the undying phoenix in the North Sea. The undying phoenix followed the omnipotent expert Li Taibai. Even I could only get 1 grass of immortality from her. Pei San knew very well how terrifying the undying phoenix was. In terms of talent, the undying phoenix was the most talented emptiness realm demonic beast. There were very few demonic beasts that could stand shoulder to shoulder with the undying phoenix. Moreover, the undying phoenix had reached emptiness realm culmination, which was the limit of demonic beast. Moreover, the undying phoenix had followed the omnipotent expert Li Taibai. Li Taibai naturally helped the undying phoenix and showed it the way to use its advantages to unleash its greatest power. In addition, the undying phoenix had been cultivating for thousands of years. The current undying phoenix was indeed the most terrifying existence among the emptiness realm demonic beasts. Although Pei San was arrogant after fighting with the undying phoenix for a short while, both of them felt that the other was not to be trifled with. In addition, Pei San was polite, so the undying phoenix gave him 1 grass of immortality. 2 grass of immortality? Yes, this Huha did wander the sea before. Pei San was certain. Since he could get 2 grass of immortality with his strength, he definitely can't use force. With the speed of the undying phoenix, no one except the omnipotent expert can use force on the undying phoenix. This means that he has a very good relationship with the undying phoenix. Otherwise, the undying phoenix wouldn't have been willing to give him 2 grass of immortality. I only got 1, Pei San thought to himself. However, he didn't know that Ting Qingshan had 9 grass of immortality. And the 9 prefectures cauldron. Pei San sighed and thought to himself, no wonder Huha's cultivation speed is so fast. Even though he is very talented, without the 9 prefectures cauldron, his cultivation speed would be several times slower. The group of 4 and the 6-legged blade-like Qi had already landed. Father, what are you thinking about? The high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult noticed that Pei San seemed to be absent-minded. In her memory, this had only happened to her father a few times. Nothing. Pei San smiled and looked at Ting Qingshan. Huha. Sovereign? Ting Qingshan froze. Pei San carelessly touched his chest and saw a small tripod poking out from his robe. Ting Qingshan's pupils shrank as he stared at Pei San's chest. In his previous life, he had worn the 9 prefectures cauldron once. In this life, he was wearing it again. He would never mistake it for someone else. The small tripod on Pei San's chest, the 9 prefectures cauldron. It's the same 9 prefectures cauldron as me. Ting Qingshan was shocked. This is the 2nd chapter. Let me tell everyone a secret. Today, March 4th, is Tomato's birthday. Yes, Tomato will spend today's birthday in a burst of chapters. Continue writing the 3rd chapter. Again, if you have tickets, I'll buy them. Any ticket is fine. Consider it a birthday present. If you don't have monthly tickets or recommendation tickets, leaving a comment in the book review and comment section is better. Tomato will be very happy when he sees birthday greetings. Tomato will also be more motivated to write his novel. Chapter 493. Why does Pei San have the 9 prefectures cauldron? Ting Qingshan noticed that Pei San was smiling mysteriously at him. Master! A voice came from afar. Pei San and Ting Qingshan turned their heads almost at the same time and saw 2 people running over from the distance. One of them had a cold expression, black hair, and white eyebrows. It was the sect master of the sword sect, Li Chao. The other person had disheveled hair and a pair of sharp eyes, as if he was a savage. He was the king of beasts, Wu Ho, who had a friendly relationship with Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan and the others landed in the courtyard of the Heavenly God Palace's temporary headquarters in Yuzhou. Huha, let's talk about the 9 prefectures cauldrons later, Pei San said to Ting Qingshan with the use of the sound transmission technique. He then turned to look at his 2 disciples and said, "Aho, this is probably the first time you've seen foreign dignitary Huha. So it's you who married little June." Wu Ho looked at Ting Qingshan and scrutinized him. "I have long heard of the Beast King Wu Ho's great name." Ting Qingshan looked at Wu Ho. This Wu Ho could almost be considered as Li Jun's master. Moreover, Ting Qingshan had interacted with Wu Ho before. Wu Ho's temperament was quite similar to Ting Qingshan's. What kind of name is he? He's ranked first in the heavenly list? Haha, I haven't been able to break through to the emptiness realm after so many years. This is just a great reputation, a bad reputation. Wu Ho laughed. Immediately after, he scrutinized the 6-legged blade-like qi beside Ting Qingshan. The 6-legged blade-like qi was 2 zhang tall. Its entire body was pitch black with faint golden spots, and its eyes were blood red. This must be the legendary demonic beast. It looks powerful. Since Wu Ho was called the king of beasts, he was very fond of demonic beasts. Roar! The 6-legged blade-like qi glared at him coldly. Tisk tsk. What a bad temper. Wu Ho grinned. Let's go, don't just stand here, Pei San ordered with a faint smile. As soon as he gave the order, Wu Ho, Li Chao, and the others obediently followed him to the living room. When Ting Qingshan arrived, he received a warm welcome from Pei San. Even Li Chao and Wu Ho, who were Pei San's disciples, were surprised by the degree of welcome. With teacher's temper, why is he being so friendly to this Huha? Li Chao and Wu Ho walked side by side in the garden. Wu Ho frowned and said, "Eldest senior martial brother, even if this Huha possesses a powerful demonic beast, he would not be able to defeat Huha. Even so, there's no need for Master to treat him like this. I don't understand." "Yes." The grave and stern Li Chao nodded. "Master may seem calm and indifferent, but he is actually very proud and arrogant. In the land of the 9 prefectures, there are only a few people who are worthy of his attention. I don't understand it either." It was Ting Qingshan's first time interacting with Pei San. He didn't notice anything wrong with Pei San's enthusiasm. He even thought that Pei San was a friendly and enthusiastic person. In Pei San's study room, "Huha, sit." Pei San poured tea with a smile. At this moment, only Ting Qingshan and Pei San were in the study room. "Palace Master." Ting Qingshan frowned. "Have you been wondering about the 9 prefectures cauldrons?" Pei San's words surprised Ting Qingshan. "Yes." Ting Qingshan didn't deny it. Pei San picked up the teacup and sniffed. "This tea is good. Let's talk while we drink." In the land of the 9 prefectures, there are 9 prefectures cauldrons. However, every 9 prefectures cauldron possesses incredible power and has its own intelligence. Normally, 2 9 prefectures cauldrons would rarely meet. Ting Qingshan understood that Pei San knew about the 9 prefectures cauldrons. "Huha, you should know about the benefits of the 9 prefectures cauldrons, right?" Pei San stared at him. "I don't know." Ting Qingshan shook his head and pretended not to know. "You don't know?" Pei San smiled and said, "According to what I know, the first omnipotent expert in the land of the 9 prefectures, Emperor forged the 9 prefectures cauldrons. The second omnipotent expert, heavenly Emperor Qin Mountains, wore a 9 prefectures cauldron. The third omnipotent expert, Li Taibai, used a 9 prefectures cauldron to drink wine. Even the fourth omnipotent master, martial ancestor Shiga, was unable to find any records of him wearing a 9-continent cauldron. Hong Tian, the northeastern king who dominated the world back then, also had a 9-continent cauldron pendant on his chest. I know about this. Also, 3,000 years ago, the genius of Emperor Yu's Hall, Lu Yun, reached the insightful emptiness realm. Although she was a woman, she deserved to wear the 9 prefectures cauldron pendant, Pei San said as he observed Ting Qingshan's expression. Ting Qingshan could not help but reveal a shocked expression. Of the 4 omnipotent powerhouses, the first one had created the 9 cauldrons, and 2 of the other 3 had worn the 9 cauldrons. This is the 9-continent cauldron? Ting Qingshan was shocked. Haha, Huha, are you scared? It's not as exaggerated as you think. Pei San couldn't help but laugh out loud. That's right. Many heroes in the history of the land of the 9 prefectures have carried the 9 prefectures cauldrons. However, there were even more heroes who had never worn the 9-continent cauldrons. You should know that there are 9 cauldrons. A person's lifespan is only 500 years. Over 6,000 years, even if the owner changed every 500 years, the 9-continent cauldrons should have nearly 100 owners, Pei San said. However, there were only 4 omnipotent experts. When Emperor Yu became an omnipotent expert, he did not have the 9-continent cauldrons, Pei San said. It's fine if more people who had the 9-continent cauldrons reached the innate realm. Ting Qingshan suddenly laughed. He had obtained the 9-continent cauldron from a skeleton. The skeleton was only an innate expert when he was alive. Even my disciples did not have the 9-continent cauldrons. Pei San continued, according to my investigation, the 9-continent cauldrons have an unpredictable ability, especially during cultivation. The people who have the 9-continent cauldrons can cultivate and comprehend Tao faster. However, it is only faster. When they encounter some obstacles, they still need to break through by themselves. Some people, even if they have the 9-continent cauldrons, are stuck in the Golden Dan innate realm. They will never reach the emptiness realm because they cannot break through the obstacles. Pei San stared at Ting Qingshan. Without the 9-continent cauldrons, it might take 100 years to comprehend Tao. However, with the 9-continent cauldrons, it will only take 30 to 50 years. Pei San stared at Ting Qingshan and said, Actually, many people in this world know this secret. Ting Qingshan nodded. However, so what if they know? Pei San shook his head and smiled. The 9-continent cauldrons have intelligence. They will choose their own masters. Even if someone takes the 9-continent cauldrons, the 9-continent cauldrons will disappear by themselves. In history, an insightful emptiness realm expert of the Ying family found the 9-continent cauldrons and took them from someone else. But what happened? The next day, the 9-continent cauldrons disappeared and returned to their original masters. The 9-continent cauldrons are like naughty children. Pei San held the small tripod in front of his chest and said, They will choose their own masters. No one can interfere. Haha, sovereign. Ting Qingshan was very calm. He stroked the small tripod in his arms and said, Since the 9-continent cauldrons are willing to follow us, then, we cannot disappoint them. There have been countless heroes in the land of the 9 prefectures for thousands of years. Some people could reach the insightful emptiness realm without the 9-continent cauldrons. Then Pei San's eyes brightened and he nodded, yes. With the 9-continent cauldrons, we will naturally improve further. We will become the 5th omnipotent expert in the land of the 9 prefectures. Ting Qingshan didn't say much. He also had the same desire. Hua, Pei San said. Ting Qingshan was stunned. Let me remind you. You must remember this, even after 100 years, Pei San said solemnly. What? Ting Qingshan was stunned by Pei San's solemn expression. No matter what, even if you see the 4 great divine codices, don't learn them. Even if you comprehend Tao according to the divine codices, you must stop now. Pei San said solemnly, don't read any divine codices. You have to create your own Tao and walk a path that belongs to you. This might be difficult, but you must do it. Pei San said solemnly. Ting Qingshan was stunned. Although he used the 36 splitting mountain forms as a reference, Ting Qingshan didn't copy it. Instead, he studied it, converted it into his own understanding, and expressed it with his fist art. When he studied the celestial jade annulus, Ting Qingshan only felt it for half a day and didn't dare to go any deeper. If he did, he would be completely immersed in the Tao of sword. He wouldn't be able to cultivate the Tao of spear anymore. Maybe you have already learned the Tao of the predecessors. This way you can improve very quickly. Pei San sneered. For example, Emperor Yu's hall relied on the heavenly book of the 9 cauldrons. Once they reached the emptiness realm, they would spend dozens of years to reach emptiness realm culmination. However, they all walked the path that Emperor Yu gave them. The fastest and most convenient path. Don't be greedy for speed, Pei San said solemnly. You are cultivating so fast now. You must be walking the path of the predecessors, right? Ting Qingshan was stunned. Path? Who reached the emptiness realm by relying on fist art or the Tao of spear? I won't say any more. Remember, walk your own Tao. It might be difficult at the beginning, and it might even be difficult to change from the original Tao. However, it will be good for you. With this, Pei San waved his hand and said, That's all I have to say. You may leave. Thank you, Sovereign. Ting Qingshan cupped his hands and immediately left. Pei San stared at Ting Qingshan's back and said, That's all I have to say. Hoo-ha, I hope you won't disappoint me. Time passed by. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed since Ting Qingshan arrived in Yuzhou. During this half a month, the army of the Heavenly God Palace in the south and the army of the God of Heaven Mountain in the north were facing each other from the north and south. Their morale was rising. In the entire Yuzhou there was only one county left, Hong Tian County. This was the place where the northeastern king, Hong Tian, rose to power. It was under the control of Hong Tian City. What Pei San said makes sense. Previously, I used the splitting mountain axe to practice the 36 splitting mountain forms. I was completely immersed in the Tao of the axe. When I delved into the Tao of the spear, I always felt uncomfortable. If Pei San didn't tell me, I wouldn't have known. So that's how it is. If one wants to reach the peak, there is only one Tao. While Ting Qingshan was in Yuzhou, he focused on studying fist art. He practiced the 3 postures every day. Fu, Qi. Even though Ting Qingshan was an emptiness realm expert, he could still feel that the origin of the Xing-Yi fist, the 3 postures, contained an unfathomable Tao. Beside the training field, Li Jun walked over with a smile and a cup of tea. Suddenly, boom! A loud explosion sounded from afar. Ting Qingshan looked toward the south. Hoo-ha, hurry up and bring the blade-like Qi here. The old bastard of Xiao Yao Palace has appeared. Pei San's voice sounded in Ting Qingshan's ears. Ting Qingshan's facial expression changed and he immediately shouted, Blade-like Qi. Whoosh! The blade-like Qi dashed out. Ting Qingshan grabbed the splitting mountain axe and leaped onto the 6-legged blade-like Qi's back, pointing southward. The 6-legged blade-like Qi transformed into a black shadow and disappeared from the training field. This is the 3rd chapter. This chapter is very important. It reveals some information about the top 3 great traps in the story of the 9 cauldrons. I wonder if anyone noticed. Continue writing the 4th chapter. Chapter 494. Whoosh! The 6-legged blade-like Qi flew towards the south like a bolt of lightning. Ting Qingshan, who was standing on the back of the blade-like Qi, could clearly sense a black hole darting towards the six-legged blade-like Qi. Hoo-ha, chase after Ah Chao. Hurry! Pei San landed on the back of the six-legged blade-like Qi, although Ting Qingshan didn't sense the aura of the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace, the unfamiliar emptiness realm expert. He sensed Li Chao's aura. Immediately, Ting Qingshan guided the six-legged blade-like Qi. The six-legged blade-like Qi flapped its two pairs of wings and reached its maximum speed. A shield of air formed on its back. Ting Qingshan and Pei San were not affected by the wind at all. The city below passed by in a flash. Flying over forests, hills and rivers, Ting Qingshan clearly sensed Li Chao and another unfamiliar aura in his domain. They went underground. Ting Qingshan smiled. The six-legged blade-like Qi was most proficient in drilling into the ground. At this moment, the six-legged blade-like Qi also sensed the aura of Li Chao and the other unfamiliar emptiness realm expert. Therefore, it did not need Ting Qingshan's guidance at all. It chased after them on its own. "Haha, you white-browed thief, you want to chase after this old man? Eat this old man's dirt." His entire body was covered in armor and he wore a helmet. His silver-white hair could be faintly seen from his exposed face. His eyes were fierce. This was the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace. At this moment, he quickly drilled into the ground. "Humph, old thief Ding, you won't be able to escape this time." Li Chao's entire body emitted sword light as he dove into the ground. Underground, the entire body of the sovereign of the Xiao Yao Palace flickered with an emerald green light. He tore the ground apart and flew underground. Li Chao transformed into a sharp sword and continued to drill into the ground. In terms of drilling speed, both of them had reached the limit of an emptiness realm expert's drilling speed. According to the results of the previous sneak attacks by the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace, the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace would frantically drill underground. Could it be that Li Chao would chase after him day and night? Then patience. Li Chao knew that he couldn't catch up and would eventually give up. At that time, the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace succeeded again. "White-browed thief, how many days are you going to chase after me? 3 days or 10 days? I don't care. I have plenty of time to waste with you." The sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace continuously drilled into the ground. He had experience. He had to drill at least 70 to 80 li underground. This way, he would be able to prevent Li Chao, who was chasing after him, from contacting the surface. Just then, the facial expression of the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace changed. "Old bastard, you're still laughing? Can you even laugh?" Li Chao sneered and transmitted his voice over. You actually hired an earth-drilling demonic beast." The old palace lord knew that he was in trouble. He had actually detected the aura of 3 emptiness realm demonic beasts in his domain. Although they were flying at an extremely fast speed, he didn't pay much attention to them at first. After all, flying emptiness realm demonic beasts were not fast enough to burrow underground. This was also the reason why the godly Thunderbolt Hawk was unable to catch up to him. There were too few demonic beasts that could be compared to the undying phoenix, which could be called a divine beast. He didn't care before. But the 6-legged blade-like Qi drilled into the ground at an astonishing speed. The 6-legged blade-like Qi's drilling speed was much faster than theirs. "What? Do you want me to let you kill the elites of the Heavenly God Palace over and over again?" Li Chao sneered as he transmitted his voice. "Old thief, today is the day you die." Haha, the wild laughter of the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace rang in the ears of Ting Qingshan, Pei San, and Li Chao almost simultaneously. Simultaneously, the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace changed his direction and rushed towards the encampment of the Heavenly God Palace. Rumble, the 6-legged blade-like Qi instantly pierced through the scorching hot magma like a huge electric drill. It then pierced through the layer of rock and chased after the Heavenly God Palace Lord. Back and forth. "I have drilled into the magma twice. Although Ting Qingshan's body wasn't stained by the magma, the temperature of several hundred degrees still made Ting Qingshan and Pei San uncomfortable. Streaks of flowing light even appeared around Pei San, and wisps of cold air spread out, lowering the temperature. "It's over there." Ting Qingshan and Pei San both smiled. The six-legged blade-like Qi's speed was truly astonishing. Although the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace was quite far away at the beginning, when he changed his direction, he even made a big turn. However, the six-legged blade-like Qi still caught up. 6 li, 4 li, 2 li, phew! As the soil and rocks flew past, Ting Qingshan sensed that the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace was right in front of him. Phew! Phew! The two sharp spikes on the six-legged blade-like Qi's blade-like arms, which were drilling into the ground, suddenly shot out. The six-legged blade-like Qi controlled the two sharp spikes with all its strength. The spikes could even pierce through the fur of the shooting sun heavenly wolf. If an ordinary emptiness realm expert didn't use a weapon or a godly armor to block the spikes, their body would definitely be pierced. Clang! Clang! The sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace actually didn't block the two spikes. Instead, he slightly adjusted the direction of his body, allowing the two spikes to pierce his back. Clang! With the help of the powerful force of the spikes, the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace's speed didn't decrease. Instead, he rapidly darted upwards. This fellow is ruthless. Isn't he afraid that his godly armor will be damaged? Pei San laughed. Roar! The six-legged blade-like Qi was enraged. Whoosh! The six-legged blade-like Qi sped up again. This time, it didn't shoot the spikes. Instead, it dashed towards the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace with its huge body. The heavenly god palace actually borrowed such a powerful demonic beast. Its tunneling speed is astonishing. The eyebrows of the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace twitched. Just when he was about to reach the encampment of the heavenly god palace, suddenly, boom! A ferocious and terrifying demonic beast, which seemed to be made of black metal, brandished its huge war sabers and slashed towards the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace. There were a total of 6 war sabers. What is this? The sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace was so frightened that his facial expression changed. Bang! With great difficulty, the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace used his sword to block 3 of the sabers. He protected his face, vital parts, and at the same time, he borrowed the force of the sabers to move backwards and dodge the other 3 sabers. However, the 6 arms of the six-legged blade-like Qi were too long. The sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace borrowed the force of the sabers to dodge the sabers. However, the six-legged blade-like Qi's front arm, which was the longest arm, still struck the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace's shoulder, smashing the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace into the ground. Just like that, the old palace master's speed suddenly dropped from extreme speed to a downward trajectory. Li Chao, who was pursuing the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace, and Ting Qingshan and Pei San, who had already left the back of the six-legged blade-like Qi, instantly surrounded the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace. "Old thief Ding, you won't be able to escape." Li Chao stared at him coldly. "You old thief, you are really ruthless." Pei San stared at the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace and said, "You are actually not afraid of death. You have sneak attacked the disciples of the heavenly god palace time and time again." Ting Qingshan remained silent. He stood at the side with the six-legged blade-like Qi and stared at the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace, who had nowhere to run. The sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace wore thick armor, battle boots, and even a helmet. His face was rosy, and his entire body seemed very sturdy. At this moment, his eyes were like lightning, and he didn't seem dispirited at all. Chi-Chi, the vigorous power of the heavens and earth surrounding the bodies of the few emptiness realm experts, had pushed the surrounding soil away, creating an underground cave. "Are you afraid of death?" The sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace's voice boomed. "I have been dead since the day Xiao Yao Palace was destroyed." The sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace sneered as he stared at Pei San and Li Chao. He then glanced at Ting Qingshan and said, "Humph, the Heavenly God Palace really has many emptiness realm experts. The descendants of Xiao Yao Palace have long been hiding in various places in the land of the 9 prefectures. When they were hiding, an old man like me would be useless. I would only bring harm to them." The sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace sneered and scanned the few people present. "Since I am useless, and there are only a few decades left before the end of my lifespan, I might as well do something carefree. What do you think? Do you feel sorry for the death of so many disciples?" The sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace sneered. Li Chao's expression turned even colder. This cunning sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace had launched sneak attacks over the past few months, causing the Heavenly God Palace to lose several innate experts. Li Chao's disciples were among the casualties. It wasn't easy to nurture a good disciple. Li Chao wanted a disciple to inherit the lineage of the Sword Sect. You can be considered a person brimming with talent. Pei San smiled as he looked at the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace and said, "As the last emptiness realm expert of Xiao Yao Palace, your performance was not bad. Although you lost points, it was also a method of revenge that caused the Heavenly God Palace to suffer the greatest loss. Alright, you have said so much. It's time for you to die. I would like to see how powerful an insightful emptiness realm expert is." The sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace roared angrily and dashed forward. His sword instantly created thousands of afterimages. For a moment, it was hard to tell which of the afterimages was the real one. Pei San didn't use any weapons. He just waved his right palm. The skin of his palm was white and tender like suet jade. However, Ting Qingshan flipped his palm and instantly transformed into a great seal of the heavens and the earth. Ting Qingshan smashed towards the afterimages of the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace. Boom! The surrounding soil exploded. The strong force of energy blasted open a huge pit that was several zhang in diameter. Even the buildings on the surface of the ground shook. Some of the houses even collapsed. That jade-like palm accurately hit the real body of the sword shadow. The sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace screamed in pain. The divine sword in his hand actually flew out of his hand. His palm was full of cracks and blood seeped out. His palm had actually been shattered by the impact. However, Pei San's palm seemed to teleport. It directly appeared on the chest armor of the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace. The sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace trembled. The godly armor wasn't damaged at all. Pooh! The shattered internal organs of the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace spurted out from his mouth. He stared at Pei San with his eyes wide open and said, "You are indeed powerful. I was defeated in one move when I fought you head-on. You were able to kill me through the godly armor. You are an insightful emptiness realm expert. I admire you." As he spoke, blood flowed out of his mouth. The vitality of an emptiness realm expert was even greater than that of an internal martial arts expert who had just stepped into the Grandmaster realm. The vitality of their bodies was gone, but their powerful spirit could last for a while. Unless the sword pierced through the Naiwan Palace between their eyebrows, they would die instantly. Ah! The face of the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace instantly turned red. He roared, "Heavenly God Palace, Xiao Yao Palace will rise again? The one who destroys the Heavenly God Palace will be the successor of Xiao Yao Palace?" The sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace roared. The corners of his eyes were so wide that they seemed to be torn apart. Then, he exhaled his last breath and stopped breathing. His entire body collapsed on the ground. In the future, whoever destroys the Heavenly God Palace is powerful. Today, the Heavenly God Palace is powerful. Pei San smiled and walked over. "It's just that the winner takes all." As he spoke, he flipped open the godly armor. Pei San frowned and thought to himself, "This old thief is really like this. He only wore the outer godly armor. I reckon he didn't even wear the inner armor or the arm armor." "Ah Chow," Pei San instructed. Teacher. Li Chao immediately stepped forward. Although this godly armor is incomplete, you can keep it. At least, this godly armor is not bad. Pei San said calmly. Li Chao nodded and immediately stepped forward. A powerful sword glow appeared in his palm. The sword glow instantly turned the corpse of the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace into dust. The dust flowed away like sand, leaving behind only the helmet, the godly armor, and the boot. Ting Qingshan watched this scene silently. Pei San's words echoed in his mind. It's just that the winner takes all. The gap between the monthly votes is shrinking. Thank you, brothers. Today there is still the 5th chapter. Our current target is 5,000 votes. Let's rush to 5,000 votes. Charge to 5,000 votes. Yes, let's write the 5th chapter. Chapter 495. In the land of the 9 prefectures, life is more realistic than it was in my previous life. The winner takes all. Ting Qingshan was even more determined in his belief. Become stronger. Become someone who controls the fate of others instead of being controlled by others. On the morning of the 2nd day after Ting Qingshan killed the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace, Ting Qingshan was slowly practicing the 3 postures. At this moment, on a path not far from Ting Qingshan's courtyard, there were 2 middle-aged men who looked quite similar. One of them was wearing a brown cloak, and the other was wearing a white cloak. The middle-aged man looked slightly older and looked very similar to Ting Qingshan. Third brother. The middle-aged man wearing a white cloak smiled and said, "The Huha you told me about, is he in the courtyard in front?" "Yes, he is in front." Pei San smiled. When they reached the gate of Ting Qingshan's courtyard, Pei San laughed loudly and said, "Huha." The guards at the gate didn't dare to stop Pei San and allowed them to enter the courtyard. Sovereign. Ting Qingshan had already stopped practicing his fist art. Ting Qingshan looked at the person beside Pei San in surprise. Previously, when he sensed that there was an emptiness realm expert beside Pei San, Ting Qingshan thought that it was another emptiness realm expert from the Heavenly God Palace. At that time, Ting Qingshan only thought that the Heavenly God Palace had a lot of experts. However, when he looked at the person in front of him, he found that the person looked 80% similar to Pei San, but slightly older. "Huha, let me introduce you." Pei San smiled and said, "This is my 5th brother, Pei Hao. He is my biological brother. We share the same parents." Pei Hao, who was standing at the side, was slightly surprised that his seemingly humble but actually arrogant 3rd brother would say something like, "We share the same parents." This was something that would only be said to true friends and close friends. "Greetings, brother Pei Hao." Ting Qingshan hastily cupped his hands and said, "Biological brother? An insightful emptiness realm and an emptiness realm expert? The Pei brothers were really powerful. It's a pity that Big Brother and the others have passed away. If Big Brother, 2nd brother, and 4th brother were still alive, we 5 brothers." Pei San shook his head and sighed. Pei Hao, who was beside him, smiled and said, "3rd brother, Big Brother and the others also passed away," with a smile on their faces. "Why think so much? When the time comes, won't we have to? Your time is up. Don't say such depressing words." Pei San's face darkened. Pei Hao was taken aback. He rubbed his nose and said nothing. His 3rd brother had always been the most outstanding and talented person in the Pei family since he was young. Indeed, because of Pei San, the Pei clan had become truly powerful and terrifying. "Huha, what were you practicing just now? I felt that the changes in the spiritual qi of the heavens and earth were quite special." Pei Hao hastily changed the topic. "It's just a fist technique," Ting Qingshan said with a smile. "Oh!" Pei Hao's eyes lit up. "How about you practice it for me to see?" Before Ting Qingshan could speak, Pei San, who was at the side, reprimanded, "Old 5, it's enough that you've comprehended everything you've comprehended. Don't you understand that you shouldn't bite off more than you can chew?" Actually, in Pei San's opinion, Ting Qingshan hadn't even reached emptiness realm culmination. Even if his fist technique was powerful, how powerful could it be? Pei San believed that the method he used to teach his younger brother was the best method. He didn't force his younger brother to follow a certain path, but he also didn't let his younger brother take the wrong path. Pei Hao didn't get angry. He just winked at Ting Qingshan intentionally. This Pei Hao has the temperament of a child, Ting Qingshan said with a smile. Hoo-ha! Pei San looked at Ting Qingshan and said with a faint smile, as far as I know, you have comprehended the fire elemental Tao and the metal elemental Tao. Am I right? Actually, Pei San learned this from his disciple, Li Chao. Li Chao and Ting Qingshan had met several times. Yes. Ting Qingshan nodded. What about the water elemental Tao? Pei San asked again. Not yet. Ting Qingshan answered honestly. Pei San smiled and said, Hoo-ha, I will teach you a method. It can help you comprehend the water elemental Tao very quickly. Moreover, it can make the internal friction between the different powers of the heavens and the earth extremely small. Ting Qingshan was curious. Sovereign, please speak. Pei San spoke clearly as if he was a teacher teaching his disciple. The great Tao of the heavens and earth can be divided into life and death. The Tao of death is the Tao that causes death, destruction, and destruction. The Tao of life can be as small as the birth of a life, as large as the birth of all living beings, and even the birth of the entire heavens and earth. This is the Tao of life. Ting Qingshan shuddered. He had always been ignorant about the Tao of life and death. The Tao of life and the Tao of death form the great Tao of the heavens and earth. The Tao of life is the combination of the wood elemental Tao, the earth elemental Tao, and a portion of the water elemental Tao. This is the Tao of life. The Tao of death is the metal elemental Tao, which has the strongest offensive power. When the fire elemental Tao and a part of the water elemental Tao are combined, it becomes the Tao of death, Pei San said as he looked at Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan's heart shook, and he suddenly understood. He had long comprehended the metal elemental Tao and the fire elemental Tao. He knew that these two Taos were the fiercest and had the strongest attacks. The legendary Tao of death was actually the Tao of destruction. To destroy, one must naturally use the strongest attacks. The dreamy cloud martial immortal once said that the ancestor of the Mu clan, the omnipotent expert, Duan Mu Yu, entered the Tao through the Tao of destruction of thunder and fire. The moment he entered the Tao, he could control 50% of the power of the heavens and earth. Ting Qingshan suddenly understood. That's right. Thunder and fire. Thunder and fire are created by the qi of water mist and the metal elemental qi. After combining with the fire elemental qi, it's no wonder that his Tao of thunder and fire is the Tao of destruction. Ting Qingshan completely understood now. Hoo-ha! Pei San smiled and said, You have already mastered the metal elemental Tao and the fire elemental Tao. As long as you understand a portion of the water elemental Tao, it will be very easy for you to study the Tao of death. Once you understand it, you will understand it. You will understand the Tao of death. By that time, you can combine it with the Tao of death and reverse the situation. It will be very easy for you to achieve culmination in the water elemental Tao. Ting Qingshan smiled. Pei San's method was to let Ting Qingshan understand the Tao of death first. The Tao of death controlled 50% of the power of the heavens and earth, excluding the 40% of the power of the heavens and earth that the fire elemental Tao and metal elemental Tao originally had. Ting Qingshan would increase the power of the heavens and earth by 10%. He would first increase it by 10%. Then, he would use the Tao of death to comprehend the water elemental Tao and increase it by 10%. By then, he would only be left with the wood elemental Tao. Thank you, Sovereign. Ting Qingshan said gratefully. Ha ha! Pei San laughed. After staying with Ting Qingshan for a while, Pei San and Pei Hao left together. Third brother, why are you helping Huha? Pei Hao was slightly confused. Huha has improved very quickly. Perhaps he will be my stepping stone in the future and help me achieve the great Tao. Pei San smiled and said, moreover, it will be beneficial to him, right? Unfortunately, I don't know where Ting Qingshan is now. He is not even 20 years old, but he is already able to fight against Golden Dan innate expert. He is the best stepping stone for me. Death is destruction. With one punch, everything will be destroyed. As Ting Qingshan punched, the air trembled slightly. Then, Ting Qingshan took a step forward and retracted his fist, accumulating power again. Life is the accumulation of all power to nurture all living beings. With one move of accumulating power, all the power and power of the body will be accumulated. 3 postures. One move of accumulating power and the other move of punching. The 2 moves alternated like the cycle of life and death. Ting Qingshan had already achieved culmination in the metal elemental Tao and the earth elemental Tao. He had even created the 7th move of the water elemental fist. With such a realm, it could be said that he had already comprehended 90% of the Tao of death. He still needed to comprehend the last part by himself. Starting from the Tao of life and death, the culmination of the 5 elemental Tao will be much faster. Ting Qingshan stopped and felt slightly confused. Why is Pei San helping me? Ting Qingshan knew very well that these pointers seemed simple. However, without any guidance, Ting Qingshan would slowly comprehend the water elemental Tao like a blind man. Such pointers were indeed priceless. With Ting Qingshan's experience in his previous life, he was certain of one thing: those who were unaccountably solicitous were hiding evil intentions. He treated me courteously before, and he even gave me pointers on my cultivation. I don't care if he has good intentions or bad intentions. Ting Qingshan's heart was as firm as a rock. If he treats me well, I will treat him well in the future. If he has ulterior motives, I am not someone he can control. Immediately, Ting Qingshan immersed himself in comprehending the fist art. The 8th day after the death of the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace was the 8th day of the 7th month. After half a month of fierce attacks, the last territory of Hong Tian City, Hong Tian County, was almost completely occupied. There was only one city left, Hong Tian City. Now, the army of the Heavenly God Palace and the army of the God of Heaven Mountain had completely surrounded Hong Tian City. On the morning of the 8th day of the 7th month, outside Hong Tian City there was a sea of people. Over 1 million soldiers had completely blocked off Hong Tian City from all directions. In the army camp of the Heavenly God Palace, Ting Qingshan and Li Jun lived in one of the big tents. As for the 6-legged blade-like Qi, it was sleeping several zhang away from Ting Qingshan. Today is the day that Hong Tian City, one of the 8 supreme sects, will be destroyed? Li Jun sighed. It's hard to say. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, the Mani Temple, Emperor Yu's Hall, and the other great sects will not let the Heavenly God Palace succeed so easily. TSK. There are many emptiness realm experts here today. Brother Jing-yi. A voice rang in Ting Qingshan's ears. A beam of light shot over from afar and landed in front of Ting Qingshan. It was a silver-haired handsome man dressed in purple. Brother Li Hang. Ting Qingshan smiled and greeted him. Li Hang was the only emptiness realm expert who went to E City to see Ting Qingshan after he became famous. You must be sister-in-law, Li Hang said with a smile. At this moment, whoosh, 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 3 figures shot over from afar and landed in front of Ting Qingshan's tent at the same time. 2 of them were wearing dark purple robes, while the other one was wearing a golden robe. The man wearing the golden robe had a very conspicuous scarlet mole between his eyebrows. When the 3 arrived, Ting Qingshan and Li Hang immediately stopped talking. Brother Jing Yi. One of the purple-cloaked men walked over with a smile and said, "It's been a while." "Haha, Brother Ing," Ting Qingshan said with a smile. This man was Ing Haidong, the emptiness realm expert who tried to rope Ting Qingshan into the Ing family. However, Ting Qingshan's mind was on the golden-cloaked man. Just by standing there, the golden-cloaked man made Ting Qingshan feel a chill in his heart. When he looked at the golden-cloaked man, he felt as if he was looking at a huge sword. When he closed his eyes, he could sense a black hole. Just like Pei San. "Brother Jing Yi, let me introduce you." Ing Haidong was about to speak. Suddenly, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Pei San, who wore a light white cloak, Li Chao, who wore a black cloak, and the monk, who wore a red cloak, landed at the same time. "Foreign dignitary Huha, you are quite popular." Pei San glanced at Ting Qingshan with a smile. 5 chapters were completed. On Tomato's birthday, he wrote 5 chapters in one go. Moreover, so many readers congratulated him on his birthday. This birthday was really a happy one. Tomato also said something. Tomato was very touched when he saw the messages of concern from his brothers who supported him in the book review and comments section. Actually, Tomato was very satisfied with everyone's support. As for those who came to attack him, don't bother with them. Tomato, worked hard to write novels for my brothers. If everyone is satisfied with my work and my attitude, give me monthly vote. That's enough. It's not up to those who don't read my novels to comment on how well Tomato, write. I just want my readers to be happy. That's all. Also, you don't have to spend money recklessly for the monthly vote. Really, it's not necessary. As long as you subscribe to Tomato's books, Tomato will be very satisfied. Let's shout again. Today's chapter 5 is over. If there are monthly votes, buy them, haha, go to sleep. Chapter 496. We just got to know each other a few days ago, Ting Qingshan said with a smile. Huha, it's been almost 4 years since we last met. Standing beside Ting Qingshan was a monk dressed in a red frock. He squinted his eyes and grinned at Ting Qingshan. The God of Heaven. Ting Qingshan nodded with a smile. It's been 4 years. Although Ting Qingshan was conversing with the God of Heaven from the God of Heaven mountain, the emptiness realm experts present could feel the hostility between the heavenly God palace and the Ing family. This was especially true for the smiling Pei San and the cold-faced, golden-cloaked man. The two men's auras seemed to be fighting against each other. Is this the tension between the gods? Ting Qingshan felt an indescribable pressure, and he was secretly shocked. Brother Jing Yi. Ing Haidong of the Ing family walked over. He didn't even look at Ting Qingshan. Instead, he looked at Ting Qingshan with a smile and said, "Come, let me introduce you." Ting Qingshan looked at the monk apologetically and walked over. Ing Haidong pointed at the skinny man, who was also dressed in a dark purple cloak, and said, "This is the Grand Supreme Elder of my family, Wang Tong." The skinny emptiness realm expert, Wang Tong, flashed a smile at Ting Qingshan. He appeared to be very friendly as he said, "Jing Yi, although I rarely go out of my clan, I have heard of your great name." "You flatter me," Ting Qingshan responded with a smile. "This one." Ing Haidong led Ting Qingshan to the golden-cloaked man. Standing in front of the golden-cloaked man, Ting Qingshan couldn't help but hold his breath. This was an insightful emptiness realm expert. Looking at the golden-cloaked man's face, it was obvious that he rarely smiled. Therefore, he appeared very cold. However, when Ting Qingshan walked over, the golden-cloaked man showed a rare smile. He tried his best to curl up the corners of his mouth. At first glance, this man's smile looked very awkward. "Jing Yi, my name is Qin Shiqi." The golden-cloaked man smiled at Ting Qingshan and said, "You can just call me Brother Qin." This person's smile is so awkward. Ting Qingshan thought to himself. He could tell that Qin Shiqi rarely smiled. In fact, He might have forgotten how to smile. That was why his smile was so awkward. But because of this awkwardness, Ting Qingshan could feel the kindness and friendliness of this super expert towards him. After all, this kind of proud and aloof peerless expert disdained to be fake. Since he smiled, it meant that he really had a good impression of you. Brother Qin. Ting Qingshan believed that Qin Shiqi could be his friend. Jing Yi, I heard that my junior martial brother went to invite you to join our Ying family. Did you encounter any difficulties? At this moment, the golden-cloaked man no longer cared about Pei San. His attention was completely focused on Ting Qingshan. The Ying family is indeed very sincere to you, Jing Yi. Please consider it. What do you think? Ting Qingshan sighed in his heart. This dignified, insightful emptiness realm expert was not arrogant at all. Instead, he was very polite to him. Brother Qin. Ting Qingshan thought for a while. Facing Qin Shiqi, the insightful emptiness realm expert, he had no choice but to say, "For now, I have no intention of joining any sect. Even in the heavenly God Palace, I am only a foreign dignitary. If I want to join a sect one day, you will be my first choice. What do you think?" The Ying family is the first. I will remember what you said. Qin Shiqi was not angry at all. Instead, he was even happier. At this moment, whoosh, whoosh, a shadow descended beside Ting Qingshan. It was a frightening bird-type demonic beast. This bird-type demonic beast was about 3 zhang long. Its body was streamlined from its sharp beak to its tail. There was a thin layer of fur on its body. Under the fur, there were dark brown scales that looked like dragon scales. This bird-type demonic beast had green eyes. There were 2 people on the back of this bird-type demonic beast. One of them was the emptiness realm expert of Emperor Yu's hall, Yu Tonghai, whom Ting Qingshan knew. As for the other emptiness realm expert, Ting Qingshan did not know him. I guess he is also from Emperor Yu's hall. Ting Qingshan scrutinized the bird-type emptiness realm demonic beast and thought to himself, according to the legends, Emperor Yu's hall has an emptiness realm demonic beast. Could it be this one? Haha! Qin Shiqi. Yu Tonghai, who had a pair of broom-like eyebrows, laughed and jumped off the emptiness realm divine beast. You said that if Brother Jing Yi wants to join a sect, he will join the Ying family first? You're wrong about that. Back then, Brother Jing Yi told me that if he wants to join a sect, he will join Emperor Yu's hall first. Qin Shiqi's face turned cold. He glanced at Yu Tonghai and said nothing. Ting Qingshan frowned and thought to himself, why did Yu Tonghai say that? Ting Qingshan was just being polite to both Emperor Yu's hall and the Ying family. Moreover, among the 2 great sects, Ting Qingshan had a good impression of the Ying family, which had always been friendly to him. Ting Qingshan didn't have a good impression of the Emperor Yu's hall, which appeared friendly but was obviously arrogant. Brother Jing Yi, am I right? Yu Tonghai smiled and walked to Ting Qingshan's side. Emperor Yu's hall was used to being arrogant in the land of the 9 prefectures. Even though they treated emptiness realm experts as equals, they were still arrogant. Yu Tonghai had failed to invite Ting Qingshan last time. Therefore, he hated and was dissatisfied with Ting Qingshan. In his opinion, Emperor Yu's hall invited Yu Tonghai, an emptiness realm culmination expert. How could Jing Yi not give him face? Moreover, Emperor Yu's hall didn't need Jing Yi and the 6-legged blade-like Qi, therefore, Emperor Yu's hall was naturally arrogant. Brother Yu. Ting Qingshan looked at Yu Tonghai with a simple smile. Brother Yu, what did you say? I said that if I wanted to join a sect, I would join Emperor Yu's hall first. Why can't I remember? Yu Tonghai's facial expression changed and turned cold. Jing Yi Yu, at the side, the members of the Ying family and the Heavenly God Palace all had smiles on their faces. They all knew that Emperor Yu's hall had a prideful attitude of, I am the #1 sect in the land of the 9 prefectures. The founder of our sect is the strongest omnipotent expert, Emperor Yu, and our sect is the oldest sect. Many people were dissatisfied. However, they had no choice. Emperor Yu had given Emperor Yu's hall too many things to rely on. Therefore, Emperor Yu's hall was still extremely powerful. Did I say that? Ting Qingshan slapped his head and hastily said, I'm really sorry. I don't have a good memory. Brother Yu, please don't mind. I don't mind. Yu Tonghai responded with a fake smile, but didn't say anything else. As the members of Emperor Yu's hall arrived, the Emptiness Realm experts started chatting with each other. At this moment, Li Chao walked to Ting Qingshan's side and said with the use of the sound transmission technique, Brother Huha, why are you arguing with the members of Emperor Yu's hall? The members of Emperor Yu's hall have bad tempers. It's not a good thing to offend them. Has Emperor Yu's hall always been like this? Ting Qingshan asked puzzledly. Not really. Maybe there were some with good conduct. However, the teachings of Emperor Yu's hall is that Emperor Yu's hall is the oldest, most orthodox, and most powerful sect. As time passes, most of the disciples in the sect will be affected. Li Chao shook his head and said, however, Emperor Yu's hall is indeed very powerful. Even teacher doesn't want to offend Emperor Yu's hall. Such a powerful sect? It actually didn't decline? Ting Qingshan was puzzled. They only treat outsiders like this. The members of Emperor Yu's hall are very united, Li Chao said with the use of the sound transmission technique. The Emptiness Realm experts present were clearly divided into several camps. The Heavenly God Palace, Emperor Yu's hall, and the Ying family. There were also scattered Emptiness Realm experts, such as Ting Qingshan, Li Hang, and an Emptiness Realm expert from Snowhawk Hall. Brother Jing Yi, look. Li Hang stood beside Ting Qingshan with a smile. Look at what? Ting Qingshan was puzzled. Li Hang said with the use of the sound transmission technique, Did you realize that although Emperor Yu's hall and the Ying family don't have a good impression of each other, today, they seem to be against the Heavenly God Palace? I think they are waiting for the last group of people. The people of Mani Temple. Ting Qingshan suddenly looked up at the sky. The people of Mani Temple are here, Ting Qingshan said with a low voice and a smile. 3 beams of flowing light streaked across the sky and landed in the middle of the Emperor Yu's hall and the Ying family. The 3 people who arrived were all dressed in yellow monk robes. There were 9 purple stripes on the sleeves of the monk robes. Among the 3 bald monks, one had white eyebrows and droop. There was also a tall and sturdy man who was almost 3 meters tall. The last monk of the Mani Temple was actually a chubby young monk who looked like a young man. However, if I'm not mistaken, these 3 people should be Emptiness Realm culmination experts, Ting Qingshan thought to himself. The Mani Temple was indeed the number 1 sect in the world. Of course, Emperor Yu's hall wouldn't admit this. In the distance, the monks of Mani Temple were conversing with the people of Emperor Yu's hall and the Ying family. The monks seemed very humble. Brother Li Hang, do you know why Qin Shichi got his name? Ting Qingshan asked curiously with the use of the sound transmission technique. He knew very little about the Emptiness Realm experts of the land of the 9 prefectures. Li Hang replied with the use of the sound transmission technique. Brother Jing Yi, this Qin Shichi. Let me tell you this. In the Ying family, there are 2 types of people who can become disciples of the Ying family. The first type is the members of the Ying family. The second type is the disciples from all over Yongzhou. When these disciples join the Ying family, as long as they become members of the Ying family, they will be given the surname Qin. Qin? Ting Qingshan knew this name as well. When the heavenly emperor of the Qin Mountains unified the world, the name of the country was Qin. Yes. However, there were simply too many inner disciples. The people in charge of the Ying family had to come up with many names. One of them was lazy and randomly came up with a name. From Qin Yi, Qin Er, and so on. In one go, he came up with 87 names. Qin Shichi was the name he was given. Did he not change his name when he became an innate expert or an Emptiness Realm expert? Ting Qingshan was puzzled. Logically speaking, he should have changed his name. He could have changed his name. Li Heng said with a smile. However, Qin Shiqi was very stubborn. It was said that he rarely cared about others in the Ying family. He was a very proud and aloof person. Even after he became an emptiness realm expert, he still used the name Qin Shiqi. However, who wouldn't give him a thumbs up? Li Heng praised. Just as Li Heng was speaking, suddenly, Ting Qingshan and Li Heng were startled. They turned their heads and looked. Chapter 1. Chapter 497. This was because both Ting Qingshan and Li Heng sensed two surges of fighting intent. Ting Qingshan turned his head and saw that the emptiness realm experts, who had been in harmony, were now divided into two sides. On the left side were Emperor Yu's Hall, the Ying family, and the Mani Temple. On the right side were the Heavenly God Palace. The two people with the strongest battle intent were Qin Shiqi and Pei San. More than 10 emptiness realm experts were gathered here. Qin Shiqi and Pei San were the only two insightful emptiness realm experts. Before this, they were all amiable. Now they are going to start fighting. Ting Qingshan was looking forward to it. Tisk tsk. The people here today are probably more than half of the emptiness realm experts in the land of the 9 prefectures. Li Heng was slightly excited. Ting Qingshan scanned the area. 3 people from the Ying family, 3 from the Mani Temple, 2 from the Emperor Yu's Hall, and an emptiness realm demonic beast. 3 people from the Heavenly God Palace were here, and the godly Thunderbolt Hawk was circling in the sky. Including Ting Qingshan, Li Heng, a member of the Snow Hawk Hall, and the 6-legged blade-like Qi, there was a total of 14 emptiness realm experts and 3 emptiness realm demonic beasts. Pei San's disciples, the king of beasts Wu Ho and Pei Hao, were also in the army. There were also emptiness realm experts in Hong Tian City. It could be said that more than half of the emptiness realm experts of the land of the 9 prefectures had gathered here today. These dozen or so people are even more terrifying than the mighty army of 1,000,000 soldiers. Ting Qingshan closed his eyes and could clearly sense a dazzling aura that was as bright as the sun, as well as 2 rising black holes. The aura of the 1,000,000-strong army was like endless grains of sand. Compared to the sun, it was nothing. Suddenly, Pei San, I have been trying to comprehend the Tao for a long time and I have some questions. Could you please enlighten me? A cold voice sounded. Haha, Qin Shiqi, there are only a few people in the land of the 9 prefectures who are qualified to fight against me. However, you are one of them. Pei San laughed heartily and was filled with the desire to fight. The surrounding emptiness realm experts remained silent as they watched quietly. Everyone knew. This time, Emperor Yu's Hall, Mani Temple, and the Ying family didn't come here to watch the Heavenly God Palace destroy Hong Tian City. Their purpose in coming here was to stop the Heavenly God Palace. Of course, if the Heavenly God Palace was really powerful, they would not be able to do so. Emperor Yu's Hall, Mani Temple, and the Ying family would choose to give up. The fight between Qin Shiqi and Pei San was a good opportunity to test the strength of the Heavenly God Palace. After all, the insightful emptiness realm experts had different levels. Qi, Pei San, who was clothed in a white cloak, and Qin Shiqi, who was clothed in a golden cloak, formed a powerful whirlpool around them. A stream of grayish light flew out of Pei San's body and swept towards Qin Shiqi. At the same time, Qin Shiqi's body emitted a fierce black and white beam of light that was shaped like a sword and swept toward Pei San. The moment the 2 different world energies came into contact, the space around them rippled like water. Retreat, retreat! Li Chao shouted. Retreat! Ting Qingshan grabbed Li Jun and retreated. All the emptiness realm experts who were watching the battle quickly retreated at the same time. They were at least 1 li away from the 2 insightful emptiness realm expert. Under the command of the sovereign of the Sword Sect, Li Chao, the large number of soldiers who were standing far away retreated frantically. However, they were still too slow. The wave-like ripples in the air spread out in all directions for a distance of over 100 zhang. Everything that was affected, including the rocks, trees, and the tens of unlucky soldiers who were too slow, was instantly turned into dust. The area within 100 zhang was flattened. As expected. As expected. Li Hang, who was beside Ting Qingshan, was slightly excited. "Brother Li Hang, what happened just now?" Ting Qingshan was shocked. He had seen Pei San fight before, but he had never seen such power. Li Hang hastily said, "According to the legend, when two insightful emptiness realm experts fight, they use the power of their own world. Once the two different world energies come into contact and fight, the originally stable power of the heavens and earth of the land of the 9 prefectures will start to shake. This will only happen when two insightful emptiness realm experts fight. An insightful emptiness realm expert cannot do this." Li Hang's eyes lit up. Ting Qingshan's pupils shrank. He saw that the two insightful emptiness realm experts were using sword techniques at the same time. Qin Shiqi was holding a purple godly sword. As for Pei San, he formed a sword with his right hand and formed a gray sword shadow on his fingertip. "Arrogant!" Qin Shiqi roared angrily. "Defeat me first," Pei San said with a faint smile. The two insightful emptiness realm experts instantly started fighting. In the blink of an eye, they had fought hundreds of times. Every time the sword shadows collided, the sword shadow formed by Pei San would break and reform. Sometimes, the sword shadow would grow even longer. Although Pei San's weapon was not as good as his opponent's, he was still on par with Qin Shiqi. The space shook. Occasionally, the shattered power of the heavens and earth swept out. Rumble, the sky was shaking and the earth was shaking. Dust filled the air. No one dared to get close. "What a powerful Tao of sword!" Li Hang was stunned. "What's going on?" Ting Qingshan frowned in confusion. "Pei San told me that one can only cultivate one Tao. Last time I saw his palm art. He was able to resist the sword attack of an emptiness realm culmination expert and kill the sovereign of Xiao Yao Palace. Obviously, his palm art had reached an extreme level. How can he be so powerful in the Tao of sword?" "Pei San." On the battlefield, Qin Shiqi roared. The purple godly sword in his hand suddenly emitted rays of purple light. Ting Qingshan estimated that there were 99 rays of light. The 99 rays of light formed a whirlpool and headed towards Pei San. This time, Pei San roared, "Bang!" For a moment, Pei San's right hand clenched into a fist. His fist was like an iron rod that could smash the heavens and earth. When he punched, the surrounding space was locked. When he punched, the sound of Buddha could be heard. Bang! The 99 rays of purple light exploded. "What?" The facial expressions of the people of Emperor Yu's hall changed drastically. "Impossible!" The 3 monks of the Mani Temple, who had been smiling all this while, shouted in surprise. Ting Qingshan was stunned as well. The famous 6 syllables of the Buddhist sect were called Bang, Mani, Padme Hum. The punch that Pei San had just performed was a supreme technique of the Buddhist sect. Obviously, when Pei San performed this move, the power of this move was unbelievably great. It could even produce the sound of Buddha. This was enough for the Buddhist sect to call someone a Buddha. According to the ranking of the Buddhist sect, the emptiness realm experts were called bodhisattvas. Normally, only the omnipotent experts were called Buddhas. However, nowadays, the Mani Temple did not have a high requirement for the title of Buddha. Normally, those who succeeded in reincarnation would be called living Buddhas. Those who reached the insightful emptiness realm were also called Buddhas. How can he cultivate the Tao of sword and the Tao of the Buddhist sect? Ting Qingshan couldn't believe it. At this moment, the 2 insightful emptiness realm experts, who were fighting fiercely, did not stop. A vigorous and powerful roar was heard. The purple godly sword in Shichi's hand suddenly became blurry. It looked like an illusion, and a black and white flowing light surrounded the sword. Freeze! With a smile, Pei-san crossed his fingers and bent two of his little fingers. Suddenly, an invisible shield appeared and covered the sword. Immediately, Pei-san put his hands together and clamped the purple godly sword. As fast as lightning, Pei-san's eyes became vigorous and he looked like a ferocious beast. Roar! A loud roar was heard. A huge shadow of a ferocious tiger appeared on Pei-san's body. It was an extremely terrifying sight. Pei-san dashed forward. His hands were like the claws of a wild beast. He wanted to tear Shichi apart. Break! Shichi shouted. Drops of blood seeped out from the red mole between his eyebrows. Whoosh! The purple godly sword in Shichi's hand suddenly became extremely huge. Black and white flowing light surrounded the sword. The huge godly sword slashed horizontally at lightning speed towards Pei-san. At this moment, Pei-san's eyes were filled with joy. He smiled and patted the surface of the huge godly sword. Like a fairy from a dream, Pei-san dodged Shichi's attack with ease. Not bad, not bad. Shichi, you did not disappoint me. Pei-san's eyes brightened as he prepared to attack again. Stop! Shichi retreated quickly. He cast a deep glance at Pei-san before he turned and flew towards the other two Emptiness Realm experts of the Ying family. Unbelievable! How could this be? The Emptiness Realm experts who were watching the fight were all shocked. The great palm of the Vajrayana sect is indeed powerful. Every time I watch it, I gain some insights, the great monk of the god of Heaven Mountain said with a smile. How could this be? Li Chao, who was beside Ting Qingshan, exclaimed in surprise. Some people cultivate the Tao of sword, and some people cultivate the Tao of fist. Some people cultivate the Tao of saber. How could he? Aside from Pei-san's disciples, everyone else was shocked. Cultivators knew that when one cultivates a type of weapon, one should focus on one type of weapon. Ting Qingshan had this feeling. If he was distracted by the axe art, his spear art would be affected. Focusing on the spear art was the best way to achieve the highest level of success. Pei-san told me that he wanted me to cultivate the Tao on my own. What happened to him? Ting Qingshan was confused. There is nothing wrong with being loyal to one Tao. Emperor Yu used the axe, and Li Taibai used the Tao of sword. Ting Qingshan knew this very well. They both specialize in one Tao. However, Pei-san first used the Tao of sword and then the Tao of Buddhism. After that, he used the Vajrayana sect's hand seals. After that, he became like a wild beast. He should be cultivating the Tao of beast. Finally, the way he dodged had a kind of charm. Ting Qingshan suddenly remembered something. There were many branches of the heavenly god palace, such as the god of Heaven Mountain, the Snowy Lotus cult, the Sword sect, and the Valley of Beast. Could it be that Pei-san specializes in the cultivation of these branches? Ting Qingshan cast a glance at Pei-san, who was standing in the distance. Among the many Emptiness Realm experts, the three monks of the Mani Temple were the most shocked. One of them, an old monk with white eyebrows, walked over, put his palms together, and asked, Pei-san, may I ask where did you learn the six-syllable mantra? In the Mani Temple, the cultivation method of the six-syllable mantra is only recorded in the secret scripture of Maha. Where did you learn it? The monks of the Mani Temple, who had always been modest, became very anxious. Although the secret codex of Maha was not as prestigious as the godly codex, the Golden Buddha, in the Mani Temple, there were more Emptiness Realm experts who cultivated the Maha than those who cultivated the Golden Buddha to become Emptiness Realm experts. The reason was that the Golden Buddha was too profound. However, there were many cultivation methods recorded in Maha. Among them, the six-syllable mantra was the most important. If one succeeded in cultivating one of the six-syllable mantra, one would reach the emptiness realm. Thus, the importance of Maha was obvious. Where did you learn it? Pei San smiled as he looked at the old monk with white eyebrows and asked, Martial ancestor Shiga was able to create Maha. Why can't other people create it? The old monk with white eyebrows glared angrily. Everyone, do whatever you want. Pei San glanced at the people of the Mani Temple, Emperor Yu's hall, and the Ying family and said, The Heavenly God Palace has no time to entertain you. Ah Chao, Pei San said. Teacher. Li Chao stood at the side respectfully. Pass down my order. Challenge the enemy and prepare to attack the city, Pei San ordered. Chapter 2 up to Chapter 3. Chapter 498. Yes, Master. Li Chao's figure blurred as he turned into a streak of light and rushed toward the main camp. At this moment, the white-browed old monk of the Mani Temple, who was rendered speechless by Pei San's words, suppressed his anger and walked back to the place where the emptiness realm experts of the Mani Temple, Emperor Yu's hall, and the Ying family gathered. Although they had often competed with each other in the past, their goal today was the same. Martial uncle. The white-browed old monk looked at the chubby young monk and said angrily, Pei San is so arrogant. Martial uncle, what do we do now? The burly monk's eyes flashed with lightning as he looked at the young monk. The young monk did not speak. Instead, he walked towards the Ying family. He smiled at Qin Shiqi and said, Brother Qin, you have just fought with Pei San. Tell me, how strong is Pei San? After all, we are not insightful emptiness realm experts. It's hard for us to differentiate between them. The members of Emperor Yu's hall also looked at Qin Shiqi. They all knew that Qin Shiqi was an arrogant person. He would not lie for Pei San. I did not find out his true strength, Qin Shiqi said in a deep voice, even though I only sparred with him and did not put my life on the line. Neither of them had used their strongest moves. However, from the looks of it, Pei San had learned a lot of different moves. In the entire 9 prefectures, I've never heard of anyone who could reach the insightful emptiness realm by splitting their attention. Not only did he learn saber techniques, he also learned sword techniques. He also learned the Buddhism sect's secret arts, and he also studied the way of wild beasts. Distracted by so many doors, there are such people. However, it was already not bad for such a person to reach the innate realm, not to mention the emptiness realm. As for the insightful emptiness realm, since ancient times until now, no one had ever heard of anyone being able to reach the insightful emptiness realm despite having so many cultivation techniques at once. There were indeed people who reached the insightful emptiness realm by splitting their attention into 2 paths. However, Pei San was proficient in too many things. It's hard to master it. Qin Shiqi said coldly, however. He has reached the insightful emptiness realm. I can only say that he is not weaker than me. After all, Qin Shiqi was not risking his life, and he would not risk his life to fight. He is not weaker than me. Qin Shiqi's judgment made the members of Emperor Yu's hall and Mani Temple frown. They all knew Qin Shiqi had not just attained the insightful emptiness realm. Qin Shiqi was one of the more powerful insightful emptiness realm experts in the history of the land of the 9 prefectures. Everyone, what are your preparations? The black-haired elder of Emperor Yu's hall, who stood beside Yu Tonghai, swept his gaze across the members of the Ying family and the Mani Temple. None of them can resist, so what? The chubby young monk said with a smile. Watch the fight. Qin Shiqi uttered these 2 words. It was obvious that the commandant of Emperor Yu's hall, Mani Temple, and the Ying family had made a decision. They wouldn't care anymore. If Pei San had just stepped into the insightful emptiness realm, the Mani Temple and the other 2 superpowers would definitely join hands and eliminate him. They would prevent the emergence of another superpower that could threaten them. However, Pei San was too powerful. If they really fought recklessly, the gains would not make up for the losses. So what if we let him be happy for now? Yu Tonghai narrowed his eyes and sneered. In the past, the northeastern king, Hong Tian, had conquered more than half of the 9 prefectures. However, later on, he still holed up in Yuzhou. Now, he is facing the calamity of the destruction of his city. Over the past few thousand years, there have only been one insightful emptiness realm expert. However, there have been some who have conquered 2 or 3 prefectures. Those who have destroyed the city have destroyed it, and those who have retracted their territories have retracted their territories. The heavenly God Palace will let him do whatever he wants for 100 years. After 100 years, we will see if he is still as arrogant as before. Yu Tonghai glanced at the members of the heavenly God Palace in the distance. The members of Emperor Yu's hall often said, "We will see him after 100 years." Because Emperor Yu's hall was the oldest sect, they were the most qualified to say this. Moreover, it will not be easy for the heavenly God Palace to destroy Hong Tian City today. Yu Tonghai revealed a mysterious smile as he said, "Hong Tian City has a history of several thousand years. As the most ferocious and crazy sect, it is not easy to provoke them." The other emptiness realm experts also looked at the battlefield in front of the army. In front of the mighty army, an innate realm expert stood alone. He looked at Hong Tian City in the distance and shouted, "Hong Tian City, the endless army of the heavenly God Palace has surrounded your city. You have nowhere to run. Now you only have 2 choices, surrender or die. I will give you the time of 10 breaths. After 10 breaths, if you don't surrender, we will start attacking the city." 10. 9. The voices were like the beating of a drum, pounding on the hearts of all the disciples of Hong Tian City. Ting Qingshan and Li Jun stood together, and the silver-haired, purple-clothed Li Heng stood beside them with a smile. While the army was shouting, the sovereign of the heavenly God Palace, Pei San, came to Ting Qingshan. "Hoo-ha!" Pei San smiled as he looked at Ting Qingshan. "Sovereign." Ting Qingshan went forward to greet him. "We will be fighting soon." Pei San smiled and said, "The people of Yuyan Pass would rather die than surrender. It will take some effort to destroy Hong Tian City." Hong Tian City also has 2 emptiness realm experts. Moreover, Hong Tian City has a long history. Besides the Northeast King, there was also an insightful emptiness realm expert. Therefore, there are at least 2 sets of godly armor in Hong Tian City. One of them is the Hong Tian godly armor, which is second only to the supreme battle armor. "Hoo-ha, lend me the blade-like chi after we kill the 2 emptiness realm experts and obtain the 2 sets of godly armor. I need the Hong Tian godly armor. How about I give you the other set of godly armor as a token of appreciation for lending you the blade-like chi?" Pei San's words were shocking. Lend the 6-legged blade-like chi to obtain a set of godly armor? Of course, the godly armor must be obtained first. Of course. Ting Qingshan looked at Li Jun, and Li Jun immediately let out a deep roar. Whoosh! The earth shook violently, and a phantom emerged from the ground, creating a huge pit. The phantom landed on the ground. It was the pitch-black 6-legged blade-like chi with 4 blade-like arms and 2 blade-like legs. The 6-legged blade-like chi scanned the people present with its blood-red eyes and roared at Li Jun. Li Jun conversed with it. Yes, it agreed. Pei San smiled. Pei San understood the language of beasts. He was the one who taught the king of beasts. Pei San also roared at the 6-legged blade-like chi. The 6-legged blade-like chi glanced at Ting Qingshan, and Ting Qingshan nodded. Whoosh! Whoosh! Pei San and the 6-legged blade-like chi simultaneously transformed into a blur and disappeared. "Ha-ha, brother Jing Yi!" Li Heng, who was at the side, couldn't help but laugh. "Brother Jing Yi, you have this blade-like chi, you are really guarding a treasure. Look, Emperor Yu's hall, the Ying family, and the Mani Temple are all here to fight for the godly armor of Hong Tian City. As for you, you don't even need to do anything to get a set. Fight for the godly armor." Ting Qingshan couldn't help but glance at the people of Emperor Yu's hall. Of course. Li Heng smiled. If they can stop the Heavenly God Palace, then they will. If they can't, then they will take advantage of the situation. Otherwise, why would the people of Emperor Yu's hall bring the Emptiness Realm demonic beast, the wind-splitting dragon falcon? As far as I know, the wind-splitting dragon falcon is the fastest-flying Emptiness Realm demonic beast in the land of the 9 prefectures. Maybe the legendary Undying Phoenix can surpass it. However, the Undying Phoenix hasn't appeared for thousands of years. The wind-splitting dragon falcon. Ting Qingshan stared at the streamlined bird-type demonic beast in the distance. Just by looking at its body, he could tell that it was a demonic beast that was very good at flying. This wind-splitting dragon falcon has been with Emperor Yu since Emperor Yu was still alive. After Emperor Yu passed away, the wind-splitting dragon falcon stayed in Emperor Yu's hall until now, Li Heng said. Ting Qingshan, Li Jun, and Li Heng suddenly looked at the distant Hong Tian city. 1. When the last number was shouted, rumble, the east gate of Hong Tian city suddenly opened. Many people who saw this scene were shocked. Could it be that Hong Tian city was going to surrender? Otherwise, why would they open the gate? The city gate opened. Clop, clop, clack. The clattering of hooves could be heard as a group of knights clad in heavy black armor rode out in a single file. A large number of knights came out of the city. None of them spoke, and all of them lined up neatly outside the city walls. They were lined up in a straight line for 3 miles. Hong Tian City was famous for its armored cavalry. Outside the 4 walls of Hong Tian City, there were flat areas that were suitable for the cavalry to charge forward. Each row was 3 li long. There were dozens of rows. There are at least 20 to 30,000 cavalrymen outside the east gate. Even though Ting Qingshan was watching from afar, he could still feel the imposing aura. Tens of thousands of people were like a sea of people. There were dozens of them, 3 miles long. It was as if a terrifying flood was constantly accumulating. Once the dam burst. Of these 20 to 30,000 cavalrymen, the first 10 rows were all in black heavy armor, and the war horses were also draped in black armor. The 10 or so rows of cavalrymen in the center were all clad in blood-colored armor. Their horses were also draped in blood-colored armor. The last 10 rows of cavalrymen were all clad in dark green armor, and the war horses were also draped in dark green armor. None of the 20 to 30,000 cavalrymen spoke. They were as silent as the dead. The most similar thing about them was that all of them had a white cloth tied around their left arms. Their eyes were even more terrifying than those of wolves. Their eyes contained a murderous aura, a deathly aura, and a crazed desire to devour everything. 2 streams of light flew out of Hong Tian City. Boom! Boom! Like 2 meteorites, the 2 streams of light crashed into the front of the cavalrymen and stood perfectly straight. One of them was clad in blood-red godly armor and held 2 iron truncheons in his hands. The other was clad in green godly armor and held a saber in his hand. Both of them had white cloth tied around their left arms. Only the front of their heads had a tuft of hair. Heavenly God Palace! The bald man clad in blood-red godly armor and holding an iron truncheon shouted, sounding like the voice of the thunder god. We are here! 11,002 heavy mountain cavalrymen. One of the cavalrymen clad in black heavy armor below the eastern city wall shouted. 7,618 blood-red cavalrymen. A cavalryman clad in blood-red armor below the eastern city wall shouted. 6,267 iron swallow cavalrymen. A cavalryman clad in dark green armor below the eastern city wall shouted. At this moment, similar voices could be heard below the other 3 city walls. Many of these cavalrymen had wrinkled faces, and many of them were elderly. All the disciples of Hong Tian City have already been dismissed. These are the ones who willingly stayed and are willing to live and die with Hong Tian City. The heavy mountain cavalrymen, blood-red cavalrymen, and iron swallow cavalrymen make up a total of 78,362 cavalrymen. The voice of the bald man clad in blood-red godly armor shook the heavens. 78,362 brothers, as well as us, swear to live and die with Hong Tian City. We swear to live and die with Hong Tian City. The cavalrymen roared. Among them, there were both elderly and strong men. We swear to live and die with Hong Tian City. We swear to live and die with Hong Tian City. Their roars shook the heavens. It was as if the heavens and the earth were trembling in front of these nearly 80,000 cavalrymen. Let's fight. No one can easily destroy Hong Tian City. The bald, strong man clad in blood-red godly armor shouted. Fight! Fight! The roars of nearly 80,000 people shook the heavens. Their roars were like monstrous waves that swept across the heavens and the earth. Many soldiers of the heavenly God Palace felt a chill down their spines. Soldiers who were unafraid of death were the most terrifying. End of the third night. Chapter 499. A gust of wind blew, stirring up sand and dust. Outside Hong Tian City, dozens of rows of cavalrymen lined up 3 li in a row. All of them were prepared to die. Morning soldiers weren't scary, but morning soldiers were powerful. Moreover, there were so many of them, and they had top-notch armor and warhorses. They were also led by 2 emptiness realm experts. Such morning soldiers were terrifying. At this moment, the fighting will of the 78,362 cavalrymen seemed to have condensed into one. Everyone roared in their hearts. They wanted to kill the invading enemy. Kill 1 to break even, kill 2 to make a profit, kill 10 and die with a smile. Fight! 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 The 78,362 roars shook the hearts of the people. The high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult, Ting Qingshan, and Li Jun were all in the barracks of the Heavenly God Palace. Oh no! The high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult frowned. The morale of the army of the Heavenly God Palace has been affected. The arrogant were afraid of the reckless. How could the morale of the army of the Heavenly God Palace not be affected? Look! Ting Qingshan looked ahead and said, "The God of Heaven monk has arrived." The 2 armies faced each other. The monk, who was dressed in a red robe, stood in front of the army with a smile. When he opened his mouth, his voice was like the rumbling of thunder. Children of Hong Tian City, in the past few months, the Heavenly God Palace has attacked Hong Tian City from the north and south. They have destroyed everything in their way. Now only this city is left. In the past few months, enough people have died in Hong Tian City. Look at your brothers and friends beside you. Do you want them to die? Do you think that not enough people have died? Put down your weapons and live a peaceful life. Your wives and sons are waiting for you. Put down your weapons. The voice of the God of Heaven had a magical power that drilled into people's minds. Even though the soldiers of Hong Tian City were prepared to die, many of them were still affected by the voice and thought of their sons and grandsons. Get lost! The bald man, who was wearing blood-red armor, roared fiercely. His voice seemed to have smashed into the hearts of those who heard it. He glared at Su Mink and said, "Su Mink, your army from the God of Heaven Mountain has killed countless disciples of my Hong Tian City in just a few months. Now, pretend to be a good person. Get lost, you bald donkey!" Beside him, another bald man wielding a saber also glared at him and shouted, "The men of Hong Tian City are the most indomitable men in the world. We are people of Hong Tian City. Dead, it's the ghosts of Hong Tian City. Our Hong Tian City is ready today. 78,362 brothers, including me, Zhou Tianchang." The bald man with the saber roared, "And my elder brother, Yu Shijin. The 2 of us, along with 78,362 brothers, are prepared to die with Hong Tian City. If I don't kill enough of the enemy's blood today, How can I face the patriarch? The ancestral master once said, if you are born a man, you will kill. Don't let a man's body be wrapped around a woman's heart. Kill. 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 Nearly 80,000 cavalrymen shouted in a low voice. Their eyes were like a crazed lone wolf. Suddenly, rumble, the ground in front of the formation trembled, and then the ground exploded. At the same time, an enormous monster emerged from the ground. This monster's entire body was covered with spikes, and at first glance, it looked somewhat like a hedgehog. Its head was completely pointy, and its 6 ears were the most obvious. They were very small and moved occasionally. This monster was 3 zhang tall, and on its pointy head, a pair of black eyes looked around. Roar! A shocking roar came from the monster's throat. Ha 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 ha! At this moment, the 2 emptiness realm experts of Hong Tian City laughed heartily as they stood beside the monster. This hedgehog-like monster also stood between the 2 emptiness realm experts. Its cold eyes swept across the people of the Heavenly God Palace. The facial expressions of Pei San, Li Chao, and the others, who stood in the army of the Heavenly God Palace, changed. It's the 6-eared earth-drilling mouse. It actually came. The facial expressions of Pei San and the others changed. The emptiness realm experts, who were watching the battle from afar, clicked their tongues in admiration. It's the 6-eared earth-drilling mouse. In the middle of the army, Ting Qingshan was also shocked. The 6-eared earth-drilling mouse is one of the 4 great godly beasts of the land of the 9 prefectures. It seems that Hong Tian City paid a great price to invite the 6-eared earth-drilling mouse. In the land of the 9 prefectures, most of the emptiness realm demonic beasts hid in various places and rarely came out. However, there were exceptions among the emptiness realm demonic beasts. These exceptional emptiness realm demonic beasts were not willing to live in the deep mountains and forests, nor were they willing to hide somewhere. They did whatever they wanted. They wanted to do what they liked. For example, eating people. For example, killing and so on. In the land of the 9 prefectures there were 4 extremely famous godly beasts. Even the ordinary post-liminary realm experts knew about them. They were called godly beasts because ordinary people feared their strength. Therefore, they regarded them as godly beasts. Actually, the 4 godly beasts were just emptiness realm demonic beasts. In terms of strength, they might not be stronger than other emptiness realm demonic beasts. There were many types of demonic beasts, but only a few of them were recognized as godly beasts. Only those who were truly powerful could be called godly beasts. The extremely famous 4 godly beasts of the 9 prefectures were free and not controlled by humans. However, they had their own desires. Moreover, their intelligence was not inferior to that of humans. Therefore, humans could use their desires to ask these demonic beasts to come out of the mountains. Among the 4 godly beasts, the 6-eared earth-drilling mouse had the lowest difficulty in inviting emptiness realm demonic beasts to come out of the mountains. The nest of the 6-eared earth-drilling mouse was in Rongzhou, southwest of the land of the 9 prefectures. However, the 6-eared earth-drilling mouse loved to eat. Its favorite fruit was the flaming dragon fruit. However, this flaming dragon fruit was extremely rare and precious. It was also very difficult to obtain. Although the 6-eared earth-drilling mouse was powerful, it was alone. It was very difficult to find the flaming dragon fruit. Therefore, usually, if one gave enough flaming dragon fruits, they could ask the 6-eared earth-drilling mouse to do something for them. Although the emptiness realm demonic beasts were greedy and cruel, one thing was for sure: they kept their promises. They were all proud and aloof, but the emptiness realm demonic beasts kept their promises. This time, when Hong Tian City was in danger of being destroyed, Ting Qingshan went to Emperor Yu's hall and spent a great amount of spiritual treasures of the heavens and the earth to ask Emperor Yu's hall for help. Ting Qingshan managed to obtain many flaming dragon fruit. Then, with the help of the flaming dragon fruit and the fact that there were people in Emperor Yu's hall who understood the language of beasts, Go talk to the six-eared earth-drilling mouse. That was how he managed to invite the six-eared earth-drilling mouse. The six-eared earth-drilling mouse was not good at anything, but it was good at one thing: dig into the ground. It was known as the fastest drilling speed in the 9 prefectures. Haha, we have the six-eared earth-drilling mouse. It will be difficult for Pei San to destroy Hong Tian City. The chubby young monk of the Mani Temple laughed like a kid. He didn't look like an eminent monk at all. The six-eared earth-drilling mouse is extremely good at drilling. The 2 Hong Tianqing brothers had the assistance of the six-eared earth-drilling mouse. He could easily appear anywhere on the battlefield. In this way, the Heavenly God Palace will be at a disadvantage. The 3 experts of the Ying family were also watching the battle with great interest. They would only be happy if the Heavenly God Palace suffered a loss. Everyone, take your time and see how the Heavenly God Palace will deal with this. Yu Tonghai grinned and exchanged glances with the other Emptiness Realm expert beside him. The six-eared earth-drilling mouse was invited by Hong Tian City with the help of Emperor Yu's Hall. Of course they knew. In front of the battle formation, the 2 armies faced each other from a distance. Pei San's expression darkened as he stared coldly at the 2 Hong Tianqing brothers, who stood proudly in the distance. They actually invited the six-eared earth-drilling mouse. No matter how good-tempered Pei San was, he was still angry. Teacher, what should we do? At this moment, Li Chao, who had already donned a suit of armor, asked with the use of the sound transmission technique. He had obtained this godly armor after the death of the sovereign of Shao Yao Palace. Haha, the Heavenly God Palace. Don't you want to destroy Hong Tian City? The bald man, who was wearing blood-red armor and holding an iron mace, laughed loudly. If you want to destroy Hong Tian City, be prepared to be bitten by Hong Tian City. The 2 of us and the six-eared earth-drilling mouse are here. If you want to fight, come. Haha, let's fight. The other man, Zhou Tianchong, laughed loudly. Roar! The six-eared earth-drilling mouse raised its head and roared. Immediately, the army of Hong Tian City shouted, "Fight!" It was obvious that their morale had reached its peak. Zhou Tianchong, Yu Shijin. Pei San stared into the distance as his cold voice resounded throughout the battlefield. Hong Tian City will be destroyed today. At this moment, you still want to make a false accusation? Dream on. Pei San waved his hand with a murderous look and shouted, "Attack!" Immediately, dong, dong, dong. Several drums were being beaten from all directions of Hong Tian City. The sound of the drums shook the heavens. All the soldiers of the Heavenly God Palace gripped their weapons tightly as they stared ahead. In front of such a large army, they knew that, if they didn't want to die, they had to charge forward. Charge! Charge! Under the orders of their respective officers, the soldiers of the Heavenly God Palace dashed madly toward Hong Tian City. Brothers! The man in blood-red armor raised his head and the veins on his face bulged. He roared, "Today I, Yu Shijin, and 78,362 brothers will kill our enemies together. We will kill to our heart's content. Kill 2 and we will win. Kill 10. Haha, we will win. Kill." The other Emptiness Realm expert roared as well. Kill. 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 Below the 4 walls of Hong Tian City, nearly 80,000 cavalrymen brandished their weapons and charged forward on their warhorses. Like a 3-colored torrent of steel, they charged forward madly. Roar! The six-eared earth-drilling mouse roared as well. The 2 Emptiness Realm experts leaped onto the back of the six-eared earth-drilling mouse. Sizzle! The six-eared earth-drilling mouse carried the 2 Emptiness Realm experts and instantly burrowed into the ground. In the blink of an eye, within the army of the Heavenly God Palace, 3 li away, rumble, the ground split open, and the six-eared earth-drilling mouse emerged with 2 Emptiness Realm experts. Kill them! Pei San, who was dressed in a white cloak, Li Chao, who was clad in godly armor, and the monk, who was dressed in a dark red cloak, held a golden metal rod in his hand. The three experts leaped onto the back of the six-legged blade-like chi Fu. The six-legged blade-like chi flapped its wings and flew over. The bloody battle began. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.